chat with you, and somehow death loses its sting.
This is my sister. You can all have her. I hear she's very good.
I do it because I have, like, a good memory, because I'm cognitively there. Soup for my family.
Yes, it worked. I'm doing my impersonation of a MSNBC pundit today. I've got my AirPod Pros in because my my bone conducting, hello, happy Monday, headphones, which allow me to hear noises in the house, such as the screaming of the Murphys in the world, is being a jerk for some reason, and don't know why. So yeah, so I've got my now, I wear them because of the curious shape of my ears. I wear them kind of high. You know what I mean? They go straight into, yeah, the aftershocks are great. I don't know what's up with it today, but I don't have time to troubleshoot when we've got a show to do, and I didn't want to make you guys wait any longer, so I just solved it. But I like these things. I really do. And I would like it better even if they didn't curve, if they just went, they were smaller, but they also just went straight around to here and kind of had a space look to them instead of like, the whole point of these things is so that you're not wearing headphones. So why would you even want to look like you're wearing headphones? Hi. And by the way, hi, Francie. Hi, Gonzo. How are you? Can't stop lying. Pleasure. Christina F. Hello. Gene, good to see you. Yo, what's happening? All my Semites in Thailand. Richard, hi. How are you? Agnostic pagan mom. That's a lot of labels to be carrying around, but thank you for being here. Yeah. Ooh, and I'm hearing notifications because it's AirPods, so they filter out the other stuff. Thank you. People closing doors for me so I don't make a bunch of noise. And then, yeah. So hi. And I've had like half my rig. He walked out. I don't doubt it, because this one's about voting, apparently. So I just, sight unseen. Did you see the shooting outside the White House? I did not. Did it just happen? Check my sound. Check I am checking my sound. I have checked my sound. Does it sound okay to you guys? There was an assassination attempt at who? He's back. There was a shooting. Secret Service. Whoa. Did they just move him to a location? Oh, it's very soft. I see. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit. I'll make it, because it's hot on my end, kids. So I don't, let me see if I can, sometimes it's the direction to which I speak. It sounds tinny. I don't know why that would be. Oh, maybe the lob is in the wrong place. Coming from inside the house. Filters. The gain is up. Gain is ready and rolling. Hopefully. Criming. That's some news. They said they did not bring him to the bunker. He's back in, oh my God, this is going to be fantastic. Let's just jump right in then. I don't want to wait anymore. And insofar as the audio on my end, let me check real quick. Check it. At the very least, you can hear, yeah, it sounds good on my end. So I don't know if that's a YouTube's or a digital thing, but we'll see. And the whole thing's very exciting. They didn't have time to go to the bunker and change his diaper. I'm going to guess it's just code for the president just filled his pants with soup. That would be my guess. I'm going to, until further notice, call BS on the assassination attempt. Yeah, but let's see, shall we? Hello, everyone.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I thought I'd start by
bullshitting everyone about voting.
Talking about some mail-in voting that just was revealed, just the news.
Oh, what's the news? Oh no, some news about mail-in voting, guys. Oh my gosh.
500,000 incorrect absentee ballot applications were
Wait. Holy shit. 500,000 incorrect absentee ballots were sent. Wait, hold it. I may have been wrong about this whole thing, guys. I may owe Trump an apology. Let's see.
sent all across the state of Virginia.
Virginia, the Virgin State, has been taken advantage of by some nudnik ne'er-do-well.
Including to many dead people.
Dead people are voting in Virginia, a state that Hillary took last time and goes Democratic. Oh no. Well, still, don't lose the plot. Don't. Just because it's a red state, it always goes red, does not mean that the people in charge of the state are committing fraud to keep it from going blue or purple. That's not. Everybody take a breath. We'll get through this. Virginia, 500,000 votes. Some absentee ballots, dead people are filling out incorrect absentee ballots. I hope they know all the places to sign.
This was an unprecedented mailing flub.
An unprecedented mailing flub. It was a flub. 500,000 dead people voting in Virginia, and you call that a flub? This is an attack on our democracy. This could have been anyone. This could have been Russia. This could have been the Chinese. This could be the DNC.
That's heightened concerns about the integrity of expanding.
Well, yes, my concerns are heightened. And I hope yours are too. I'm sure this will pan out to be exactly what he's saying it is.
Mail-in voting and mail-in voting efforts. It's a disaster.
It's a disaster that in mail, let's see, 500,000. Where does that sound familiar as a story? Gosh, this is Fairfax County's ABC 7 story. More than 500,000 Virginia voters were mailed absentee applications with incorrect info. Oh, no. Elections officials in Virginia are trying to set the record straight after absentee ballot applications with incorrect information were mailed to more than 500,000 residents in the Commonwealth. And it's not even a state. The confusing mailers were sent by an organization known as the Center for Voter Information, which identifies itself as nonpartisan and nonprofit on its website. The Virginia Department of Election has no affiliation with this group, nor coordinates with any third-party groups on campaign efforts. The big problem is that the mailers included prepaid return envelopes addressed to the incorrect registrar's office for Fairfax County voters receiving return envelopes. We don't believe this organization was acting maliciously. They just were not very vigilant in their follow-through. My office spent all day answering phone calls from concerned voters. On Thursday, the Center for Voter Information blamed the mix-up on a printing error, saying they know the voters are on high alert as the November vote and they regret adding to any confusion. But these are applications. The Secretary of State and so third-party organizations can send dummy vote-by-mail applications with the wrong address on the outside and incorrect voter information on the inside, and this brings into question the integrity of the mail-in vote. So dead people not only got applications to vote by mail, but if they bothered to come back from the dead, sign in all 6 of the proper places on the form, lick the stamp, and mail it back, it would have gone to the wrong place. What the shit? Huh? Did somebody hand him a piece of paper? I mean, this is This is a third party effectively committing mail fraud, getting caught trying to commit voter fraud by mailing out these things to a bunch of people so that their votes would not be counted. Vote.org, folks. Vote.org. And the president is using the example of a third party in a red state collecting absentee registrations that would ultimately go to the wrong place. So you would sign up for your mail-in ballot, you'd write out your thing, and then when you sent it in, it would just go into the papers and you would never actually get your ballot. Vote.org, people. Vote.org.
All over Virginia, 500,000 votes. So that's
500,000, I'm sorry, no, 500,000 dead people, apparently, who won't even send their mail to the right place.
something you have to think about.
Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to register dead people to vote and getting someone, I suppose, to fill out the form posing as that dead person. They go through the process of committing 3 crimes beyond the old, like, identity theft and all that. We'll get to that later, the federal laws being what they are. But let's just call it 6 laws you're breaking with 5 years minimum each. And you go through all that, and the fake vote you busted your ass and almost went to jail for doesn't even go anywhere. So, yeah.
We don't want to have a rigged election.
No, we don't. So call off your weird third-party voter fraud groups trying to stop people from being able to vote by mail. These are votes that would not have counted.
You know that. And you have to be very careful when you mention, as you constantly do, Russia.
Why?
Or you mention China.
Do I constantly mention Russia? I mean, I really only bring it up when we talk about his financial ties and his undying fealty to Vladimir Putin. But other than that, I don't really bring it up. I mean, sometimes with the NRA and where they got all the $30 to $50 million they funneled into his campaign last time that they didn't have before, and yet they still ended up broke and violating the law for hiding that fact. I mean, I bring it up then, I guess. And I bring it up when Mike Flynn promises them favors that violate the policy of the United States, and not just the previous administration, but sanctions passed by the government because of an attack on our election that they benefited from. But I mean, I bring it up then. But I don't drink vodka, and I mean, I bring it up when I talk about how I studied a little bit with Vladimir Vasilyev in Toronto. Took his classes a couple times, a little bit. Yeah. But is a Russian that lives in Canadian really Russian?
You mention Iran or others that attack our election system.
Yeah, Mitch is not going to the negotiations. He's out. Basically, if they hide from it and don't participate, they can't be called on what they didn't do. There is no upside to them actually being in the room. But then Trump's not in there either. This is not that. Usually they have committee negotiations. The administration comes in with its 2 players, which are Mnuchin and I guess Mark Meadows is actually doing it. It would arguably be Peter Navarro, but apparently Peter Navarro and Mnuchin had a big blowout fight recently because Navarro wanted TikTok banned outright because it couldn't be trusted because there were too many security concerns with it. And Mnuchin had been negotiating this behind the scenes deal for Microsoft to buy it, and probably at the same time for him and his wife to buy a shit ton of Microsoft stock the minute it went up, or buy some TikTok stock, or the company that owns it, so that once they jettison it, they can sell it.
And when you have this mail-in voting, it's very susceptible. It's something that can be easily attacked.
Yeah, this isn't an attack on mail-in voting. This is on, I guess, this isn't fraudulent votes. This is making it so that people think they are registered to vote by mail, and then their ballot won't show up because they were defrauded elsewhere. I mean, it's the same as like taking some yellow paint and drawing lines across the road in the same color as the ones that go down the road and saying this calls into question traffic.
By foreign countries and by, frankly, Democrats and by Republicans.
Oh yeah, you think? You think this is going to blow back in Virginia? That this nonpartisan group was worried about a purple Virginia this time?
And I think that it's something you have to start thinking about very seriously.
I was thinking about it very seriously. I was very serious earlier. I was worried. 500,000 dead people voting in Virginia, and then it turns out they'll be denied their right to vote. Dead people have been sent an application that even if they send in, it won't do anything. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Our system's not equipped for it.
Yeah, we don't have the stamps.
The post office is not equipped for it.
Yeah, the post office doesn't carry this kind of volume of mail.
And people should vote like they did in World War I and
World War I wasn't contagious.
World War II.
World War II wasn't contagious. Although, unless you could say that like World War I was the primary infection and it just spread to World War II, is that what we're arguing now? That in its own right, the Germanic claims on Polish lands and the Rhineland and parts of Austria and their pairing with the Italians on the claimation of former Roman lands, it was a contagious disease of a war that I got nothing.
And your numbers will be, in 90 days or less, your numbers will be very good, I think, much better on the coronavirus or the China virus.
And if people vote before that number, before we can cook the books, they'll vote based on how I've actually handled this, not on the bullshit story I'm hoping to craft within the next 90 days to go in under the wire. He thinks he's going to win the debates, which he doesn't actually think that. That's the message they're putting out. But behind the scenes, all the word is that he's nervous because everybody, they put on the one hand, like, Biden's got dementia. He can barely put two words together. And then you got Stephen Miller and other people in the news going, he's a very disciplined debater. And you're like, well, you can't have it both ways. Buy some stamps, everybody. By the way, Hal, ordered Israeli origins. Oh, that's awesome. So did I, Gonzo.
But it's something you have to look at and say, this is just crazy. This just came out, 500,000 incorrect ballot applications sent all over the state of Virginia to many people that weren't living. They had some sent to pets, dogs.
Dogs.
This is what we're going to get into.
Dogs,
it's going to be a
cats
disaster.
living together, mass hysteria.
It's going to be thought of very poorly.
Hold on. That's playing
It's
both.
going to hurt our country.
Hold on.
After our news conference Saturday night and the pro-growth announcement, we're pro-jobs, pro-health safety, executive orders.
Pro-health safety?
You
mean the part where you're eliminating the safety checks on the vaccine that your followers aren't going to take?
Stock market went up 358 points today, so we issued those executive orders, and the stock market went up 358 points today. It's quite a reaction. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 are now up 50% since March. 50%.
Yeah, since it took a giant shit.
Think if you had money in there, if you put your money in March,
if you put your money in right as the world was crashing, if you were sitting on $1 million like his buddies are.
50%. The NASDAQ index.
Dogs and cats living together. Voting, mass hysteria.
Continues to set new records. It's been up over 14 times. New record in NASDAQ.
Sounds super good. I don't know what you guys are worried about, all the dead people and stuff.
And the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones are going to be, the way they're going, it looks like they're just about going to be topping records hopefully soon.
Hopefully.
Excuse me?
Oh, excuse me. They have the cue that if I say Dow Jones, that means I'm pooping. If I just say stock market, that guy's face is beet red. That is somebody who's nervous on the job. He's going into adrenaline mode. Look at, wow. I mean, that dude is, look at the back of his neck. Minucci, you can stay out. Ooh. People are running. Oh, there's some news going on, and how long does this shit last? People are filming outside. Whoa, hold on, we'll back up because they're grabbing all this stuff. They're photographing. Something's going gnarly outside. We have somebody jump the fence and fire a gun. Is that what it was? Dude, give me some window space. Wait, ja. Tom Hanks hired an assassin, a Greek murderer. It's the Jackal. Secret Service shot somebody? Yeah, we have to pull up the news on this one. Criminy. Grab this. Breaking news here on the Hal Sparks Show. Look at that. I'm sure it'll be the, oh, uh-oh. Somebody forgot their laminate. Quick, pull that and turn the ceiling fan off. Right up on the, yeah, let's see. I guess, like, but he's so beloved. How could anybody? Secret Service escorts Trump from briefing room. President returned to the briefing room. Someone says there was a shooting outside the White House. Someone has been taken to the hospital. It appears that someone was shot by Secret Service. And now the media is laser focused on this bullshit propaganda briefing after the Secret Service is that, oh, because, sir, excuse me, the ratings are starting to flag. Could you, can we? Moment. Listen. You guys come to the press box. That's the gunshot. They're calling people back from there. Yeah. Programming will return shortly. You think? Wow. After the Secret Service. Are you rattled by this at all? Do I seem rattled? You seem like your head is a rattle. We'll get to that in a moment. I don't want to get too far ahead. Oh. Did it jump? Did they cut it? They cut the feed and then came back?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, they cut that feed. I'm going to have to, hold on. Let me find one. This live event has ended. Yikes. What a way to put it on the internet. Sheesh.
I guess I wouldn't be standing here right now.
There you go. They reopened the thing up. Hold on.
One seems to be the suspect, and the suspect is now on the way to the hospital. One seems to be the suspect, and the suspect is now on the way to the hospital. I can't tell you the condition of the suspect. There was nobody else injured. There was no other law enforcement injured. And I just want to, we'll get on to the press conference, but I do want to thank Secret Service. They are fantastic. The job they do, from what I understand, the answer is yes.
He was armed, Mr. President?
That's what I understand. I don't know. You'll have to ask them that.
What type of weapon?
I don't know that, no.
Was it a male or a female
I
suspect?
don't know. You'll have to get, they'll have a detailed, maybe a briefing for you outside later. I don't know. I didn't ask that question. It might not have had anything to do with me. It might have been something else, but it was on the outside of the premises. The wall, as you know, the fencing, especially the new fencing that they put up, is very powerful.
It's a very powerful wall. Like, all this bullshit about the American people being able to have access to the White House.
But it
Not
was on
anymore.
the outside of the White House. Okay, and they'll have a full report. Secret Service, in a little while, will have a full report.
Are you rattled by this at all, Mr. President?
I don't know. Do I seem rattled? It's unfortunate that this is a world, but the world's always been.
It is unfortunate that this is a world. You know what I mean? It'd be nice if it was just a planet. Remember that?
A dangerous place. It's not something that's unique. The world has been, you look back over the centuries,
189 countries now have shootings.
the world has been a dangerous place, very dangerous
It could have, the bullets left China. They should, and it should have never been allowed to happen.
place, and it will continue, I guess, for a period of time.
Yeah, life will continue to go on. People will live and die. This will occur. What? I feel so much more better when the president really kind of sums this up. You know what I mean? Just, you know, how we're all feeling at this moment.
Does it make you think differently about your personal safety inside the White House?
No, I feel very safe with Secret Service. They're fantastic people. They're the best of the best, and they're highly trained. I don't know.
Wait, why are you asking him that? I mean, they want the quote, but like literally he was in the room with them when they're in front of the windows. I mean, they're bulletproof windows, and yeah, I mean, they could probably take a tank blast, but like, you do realize, reporters, that the bullet would kind of almost have to pass through you to get to him at this point? Like, it would have to ricochet.
If anybody got to walk outside, but there were a lot of terrific-looking people ready to go.
Sexy.
So if
Terrific looking people ready to go.
something was necessary,
Not a dog in the bunch. Every single one of them a 10.
people at the highest level of law enforcement, there's nobody like these people. So they just wanted me to step aside for a little while just to make sure that everything was cleared outside, because it was right in this area. So
Why did you come back, Mr. President? Why did you decide after that? Because obviously it created a lot of commotion. What made you decide to come back and continue the briefing?
well, I didn't even think about not coming back. I said, am I able to go back? And they said, you'd have to wait a little while. I waited a little while, as you know, in the
As you know, there was a while.
Oval Office area.
Oh, good. Good to know where you were. In front of the windows, were you?
And I said, can I get back now? And they said, yes.
Great story. Did they say, sir?
They have a lot of fortification outside just in case, but it was one person. Okay?
You said the shooting was outside. How far away from the
Well,
White
they're
House?
going to be giving you a full briefing in a little while.
Far from the White House, or was it right in front
I
of
can
that
only
section?
tell you, I'm
They need to know because they got to walk to their cars.
going to give you a briefing. It was outside of the premises, near the fence, but outside of the
But it was near
premises.
the fence, so pretty
Near the
close to
fence,
here.
yeah, pretty close. So I was telling you that the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 are now
Going up with a bullet. I mean,
50% above the March level. NASDAQ is
why did you not come out in March and go, oh my God, the stock market is down 20%?
setting new records. It's
So you can say later that it's up 50% from when it was down 20%, and people will go, oh my God, it's down 10%.
already broken the record despite the situation of having the China virus. We have new jobs are rising and unemployment is falling faster than nearly anyone thought. And over the past
Nearly. Don't include me in that group. Not that I'm giving tremendous projections, but I'm guessing that people going back to their jobs as far as essential workers, and then the increasing number of people who've either passed through the disease or had, they've either got it or modified their jobs so that they can work from home, are technically going back to work or have never officially left work, is the question.
3 months, we've created over 9 million jobs. And that's
No, you haven't. No jobs have been created.
a record, a 3-month record. If you add it up, it's a 3-month record by far.
It's not. Then what's the record for the number of jobs lost? Then why do you not own that? If you own the jobs coming back, then why don't you own the jobs going away?
And we've beaten expectations by 12 million.
No, you haven't. Unless expectations by 12 million. Were people expecting double that number of people to lose their insurance?
We're
Because that's what the ACA thing would do.
12 million above expectations, which is pretty remarkable.
Which whose? Peter Navarro's? Lou Dobbs?
Today we had great reports on new job openings, and there's clearly a housing boom, which has been incredible numbers in both housing and an automobile boom. We've
Boom.
rarely seen anything like it, and it's going on right now in America.
People are buying more used cars than ever. People are downsizing
Inventories
with for America.
are at rock bottom. Used car sales are at record levels, and we will have rebuilt. We're doing a rebuilding like nobody's ever seen.
Well, yeah, nobody's ever seen a rebuilding that isn't actually a rebuilding.
Big plus for manufacturing and construction. So construction's getting close to record territory. Manufacturing's doing very well. The car companies are doing great. Very happy for Michigan, the state of Michigan. We have a lot of car companies moving in. A lot of plants are being built and expanded in Michigan and Ohio.
This is straight up Baghdad Bob shit right now.
There is no reason why the economy can't grow at a 20% pace in the third quarter. That would be a record. And interestingly, it'll be a
From the bottom of everybody shutting down, not from its baseline of actual production.
number that's going
Who believes this garbage?
to be announced before November 3rd.
Yeah, you think? You desperately need it to be announced before November 3rd. What is his net jobs numbers, what he wrote in on and what he lost? We'll have to look that up because it's certainly in flux right
It's
now.
probably around November 1st, which is
I just applied for a job in business development at a dealership. I'm very happy about this. Okay. Well, the issue is that it's hooey.
interesting, but it's going to grow at a very substantial pace based on all of the numbers we're looking at, and probably
Because a man who is 6 feet tall, who lays down on the ground and then sits up, is now a 9 foot tall man.
a lot more substantial than we originally
Every time you sit in a chair and stand up, you get 3 feet taller. Trump math.
thought. We're creating new incentives for work and jobs, and we're also providing much needed assistance
Incentives, that's what we need. Workers, you're just too lazy.
to those who are still suffering from the effects of the pandemic contraction.
The pandemic contract.
And the contraction is now
Less than he can't. All right. This is the phrase. This is the standard, like, financial news way of discussing what this is. The pandemic contraction is indeed a legit way of communicating what the actual financial repercussions of and the circumstances around shutting down because of a pandemic versus the 2008 crash or the tech bubble or any of that shit. This is specific to this thing. This is a way of actually communicating this, okay? They gave him this finally. Thank you, Gonzo. Hoping to be your guest one day on your next live comedy show after the virus, whatever it is. Excellent. I insist. But the problem is, watch him. I haven't seen this yet, but he's going to blow it. Instead of actually saying it's a contraction and it's something we're dealing with that has some long-term implications, he's going to say, but it's just going away.
we have the pandemic. We have a lot of great things happening in terms of the vaccines and therapeutics, as you know, and I think we'll be making tremendous progress over the next period of a few months and certainly before the end of the year. I think we'll have a vaccine before the end of the year, very substantially, and we may have.
How do you either have one or you don't? What is very substantially?
Therapeutic resolvement very quickly.
A therapeutic resolvement very quickly. Hey, we resolved one thing. The FDA rescinded their emergency use declaration for hydroxychloroquine because it doesn't work. Your FDA, the president's FDA, run by his sycophants, pulled the plug on hydroxychloroquine.
very quickly. And
Thanks, Brad.
frankly, that's the one I'd rather have faster because you'd go in, you'd
I don't give a shit what you want. What do you think you want? What part? What you would rather, are you sitting in a meeting going, get me the vaccine, but if you can't give me the vaccine, you know what, I'd rather have a therapeutic. You know what, how about a cannoli?
give a transfusion or
I'd rather have fish for dinner. What the fuck difference does it make? It depends on what's in the fridge.
shot to people that are very ill, and they'd be able to come out of the hospital the next day or a few days later.
Yeah, vaccines don't work on people who are currently infected. You need both. What?
If the states participate in our core-sharing unemployment plan, we are going
What do you mean if?
to be doing something very, very interesting with all of the things that we announced on Saturday. I don't have to repeat what they are. You know very well. And
No, we don't. As a matter of fact, Kudlow blew a hole in the entire thing yesterday. It was a shit show.
we've had
And by the way, hi everybody. I felt like we rushed in because of the headphone stuff. Welcome to the show. Good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are. I hope you're doing well and holding it together. Happy Monday. You know, most people look at Mondays as a bad thing. I'm just glad I remember what day it is anymore. But I literally have started taking Sundays off only so I have a reset day. So I know, I mean, it's a little biblical, I understand, but it can be worthwhile. And Mondays for me will always be, you know, a part of a Prince song.
We've had some tremendous success already. If you look at what's happening with the stock market, and people are very thrilled at what we're doing.
How do you pivot from flus, like from therapeutics and vaccines to we're doing very well in the stock market? Did you just skip? You had me at cannoli. Thanks, James. How the?
We'd like to get the Democrats to focus on other than what they're focusing on, which is a bailout of poorly running states. We have many great running states, states that are
Poorly running and greatly running.
setting records.
They're setting records on how they're running.
Let's see what happens with.
I saw the email, Gonzo, and it shall be coming to you. Summer just mentioned it to me yesterday. I just saw it. So thank you.
Respect to that. But the
But you are not forgotten. Some mail things are going a little slower than they should.
looking at also considering a capital gains tax cut, which would create a lot more jobs. So we're looking very serious.
Why would a capital gains cut create more jobs? Basically, it would just pad the pockets of retirees and people who, like hedge funds, can't wait for this shit.
A capital gains tax cut, and also at an income tax cut for middle income families. We're looking at expanding the tax cuts that we've already done, but specifically for middle income families, and you'll be hearing about that in the upcoming few weeks. And
How are you going to pay for the deficit that you doubled since Obama?
it'll be very exciting. So
Very exciting.
a capital gains tax is going to be a lot of people put to work, and it would be a cut in the capital gains
Thank you,
tax,
Tammy.
and also a cut in the middle income tax.
And our definition of middle income, of course, is people making $500,000 to $1 million a year.
So I now want to just discuss a little quick brief, and then we'll take a few more questions.
Few more questions? Oh, I guess technically the questions after the shooting.
But we took some. Who would have known we were going to take questions before we started, right? Is that right,
Yeah, you know, we're crazy.
Jennifer?
Right, Jennifer? Of course, do I look rattled?
But that's the way it happens sometimes. We want to discuss, if we might, the China virus, and the world continues its fight against this horrible plague. Countries
He forgot he had another page of
in
bullshit.
every continent are seeing increases in cases. We have a rapid increase only in cases, where it's very interesting because we're so far ahead of testing. We have more cases. If we had
Yeah, if we didn't do all this testing, we wouldn't have this disease here.
Much smaller.
That's why, as your president, I am disbanding ICE, because if we stop looking for people breaking immigration laws, they will stop existing.
Testing would have fewer, but we feel that having testing is a very important thing. It's a great record to have in many ways. We've tested, I guess, close to 65 million people right now, and nobody's even close to that number. No other country is close. India would.
Sure, they are per capita, but then, we always get into the weird zone with per capita.
And when you say per capita, there's many per capitas. It's like per capita relative to what? Be second at 11 million, and they have 1.5 billion people.
Yeah.
So we have the number one testing anywhere in the world by far, and we also have, I think, the highest quality tests. We have a lot of different ones, but we have the highest quality, including the short term and the lab tests. The lab tests take a little bit longer.
Is that how it works?
And
the short-term ones have a 50-50 negative rate.
Dr. Birx was telling me a
False negative.
while ago that we're down to 2 days and 2.5 days on getting your result on the lab test. The other ones, you get them in 5 minutes to 15 minutes. So that's.
Yeah, you might as well flip a coin. And the 2.5 days, that's 2.5 days for you to go out and get it and think that you don't have it because you didn't have it when you took the test, but you got it between when you took it and when you got your results.
Exciting. But countries in every continent are seeing increases in cases. In recent days, cases have rapidly increased in Japan and Australia, unfortunately. And they're now experiencing.
Yeah, the DeWine thing, the Ohio governor who tested positive and it was a false negative, or he tested negative afterwards, is actually representative of more than likely that he had it and he was asymptomatic. He didn't get a false positive. He got a follow-up false negative.
Seeing higher peaks than they did in March. To the south of our border, cases have continued to surge in Mexico, Central America, Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Brazil, and throughout Latin America. It's really the hot spot. It's
the hot spot, the new hot
posing
spot.
A major challenge for
everybody's trying to get in. There's a velvet rope.
This continent. Latin America is now the region with the most number of confirmed cases by far, despite a relative scarcity of testing. So when you think of that, that means it's pretty much on fire. They're having a hard time, and we're helping them. We're sending them tremendous numbers of ventilators, which we're making by the thousands every month. And we're helping Latin America very much.
Why are we short on reagents?
It's hard for them to come into the country because we have big sections of wall up now. The new wall is being built, which people don't talk about. They used to talk about nothing but the wall. Now,
because they shut down your funding for it and you had to steal it from the Department of Defense, and all you're doing is repairing old wall.
That it's being built, they're not.
And the only parts of the new wall is stuff that was literally signed off on to be built during the Obama administration. It's the only way he can divert funds.
Talking about it so much, but it's helped us because we're up to we're getting close to 280 miles. 280 miles in the most important areas.
Almost to 280 miles. So you mean like 272 miles, which is 4 miles bigger than last time, and 6 of it blew down, but you're almost to 280. Just keep padding the number. Just round up to 300. I mean, you're talking in the hundreds anyways.
So that's helping us a lot in terms of not having people come in to the country.
Gonzo, Trump has spent over $6 trillion this year.
Who are infected with the coronavirus. This global trend underscores the persistence of the virus, including in nations that apply the strictest and most punishing lockdowns. You have nations that are really tough on the lockdowns, and they're getting hit very hard.
No. They're managing theirs. They're tracking and tracing. So when it does flare up, they know where, and they jump on it with both feet. But they're not seeing their death rates go up.
Why my administration.
Look at Spain, look at Germany, look at Sweden.
Is pursuing
there's a difference.
Science-based approach that protects the most vulnerable.
Yeah, 4.6 trillion in the first package, and then another 2 trillion.
Preserves hospital capacity and focuses on the delivery and development of treatments and ultimately the vaccine. I feel strongly that we will have a vaccine by the end of the year.
Oh, well, guys, he feels it. He feels it. It's a feeling. He's got the feeling. I got a feeling that tonight's gonna be a shot night. And tonight there will be a vaccine. I got a feeling.
And it'll be put in service maybe even as we get it, because we're all set militarily.
Well, yeah. Please tell me. Hey, QAnons, you're out there, aren't you? And the ones of you that aren't standing on a street corner right now pretending you give a shit about kids, while just basically turning it into a Trump march. By the way, this asshole has 3 pedophiles on speed dial and was friends with a bunch of them, partied with a bunch of, yeah, literally in some cases waited till the day some of Epstein's concubines that he had kept trapped, these girls, these children that he trapped, he waited till the day they turned 18 so he could legally get a shot at them. Ugh. By the way, you're gonna tell me you give a crap about like Pizzagate and pedophiles and all that kind of stuff, and you back this dude to the hilt when he bought the Miss Teen USA thing, he would brag about walking in on these underage girls while they were changing. What? Please. He's wishing Ghislaine Maxwell well.
We're using our military to distribute the vaccine. And logistically, there's nobody like this group of people. I meet with them a lot, and they're ready to go.
Yeah, okay. How are you going to get your people to take the shot? I know I harp on this a lot, but no one has answered this. And the minute he brings it up, is there anyone in there that in the chat rooms that talk about this on Fox News and other things that aren't bots that actually respond to this? That actually go, yeah, okay, I can't wait to get my Trump shot. Blow dart vaccine 2020, right? Yeah. Trump talks sexually about Tiffany right after she was born.
They have
waiting to see if her breasts would be as big as her mom's, and she had her legs. He already said she has her legs, but we'll see if she has the good part. And then he gestured about breasts, about his infant child. But please tell me more about Pizzagate, you nutcases.
They'll be going.
It's fucking gross.
But more importantly, the therapeutics, as I said, I think the therapeutics could be great. Initially speaking, I think that would be, if I had my choice. But you can have them both.
What do you, if you had your choice, what does that even mean? Like, it's seriously like him ordering fast
have
food.
Them both. You can have them both very soon, too.
Yeah, sure. Why not? But yeah, they're definitely going to be here. So I'm just going to tell you before the election that they're here, whether they are or not, and then just go back to stuff and do it. I've solved it. Yeah, I'll just run on that. I've solved it, whether I have or not, figuring that here's the October surprise. You know what the October surprise is? There's a vaccine. Go back to normal life. You'll be fine. The therapeutics are solid. We're going to release some data that the death rate, which we've stopped taking information from Georgia, stopped taking information from Florida, stopped taking information from Arizona. We're just going to, and Texas, we're just going to pretend it doesn't exist or cut the death rate. Don't register it on the CDC's website. What we're going to claim is that our strategy is sort of working and we never really had to shut down this much and we really need to open, and there are plenty of therapeutics and the vaccine's on its way. So just go back to your normal life and you'll have 3 weeks of everybody that his supporters especially running around like now, but worse on times 10, thinking they're completely safe right up to election day, voting in person because they don't give a shit. And then they all get hit with the virus 2 weeks after that. And for the rest of the year through Christmas, the death rate skyrockets. That's the plan. Get these assholes to vote in person before they catch something and die.
Same time, we urge all Americans to apply common sense mitigation. You all know what that mitigation is. Everybody knows it by heart.
Well, then, we know it by heart, but say it again.
Now, nearly half of all of the deaths from the China virus in the
Tell people to wear masks. Present a national mandate for 6 weeks. You could bring this thing to heel in 6 to 8 weeks. You could literally, this asshole could turn this election in his favor with a national mask mandate. They'd hate him for 6 weeks. But as soon as it paid off, all of his followers who bitched about it and did a little bit of jail time because they were spitting on people because they didn't want to wear a mask, and the QAnon nutcases that make up about 2% of the populace but 40% of his supporters would eventually forget about it because they all line up to sniff his farts anyways. They'll do anything he says. So they'd ride it out for 6 to 8 weeks. When does the spending get added to the debt? Over the course of 10 or 20 years, depending on the bond issue.
United States have occurred in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. That's why we have delivered
43%. The other 57% is ambulatory human beings who work for a living, children, and retirees.
funding, equipment, and rapid testing to our nation's nursing homes to protect those at high risk.
So you can ballot harvest with the old Republicans one last time before the demographic pushes you guys into the dust heap of history.
We're very focused
Dustbin, trash heap. Well, mix your metaphors as you will.
on nursing homes and senior citizens areas, anywhere that
Senior citizens areas. You mean like Ross on Tuesdays? They have a senior citizen discount.
we have senior citizens. We're very, very focused. We've delivered over
Some of them bifocused.
1,800 rapid point-of-care testing devices. Those are very quick, and shipped over
Yeah, old people don't have a lot of time left. They can't wait 3 days for it.
700,000 tests to nursing homes. The nursing homes are being protected.
By the way, tests are not testing machines. This is the illusion that they're trying to put forward. And by the way, the staff has to get tested repeatedly. Visitors have to get tested. The actual patients themselves have to get tested regularly. 100,000 is dick.
Never before. The United States faces a unique range of challenges that requires our constant vigilance. America has the largest at-risk population of any developed country by far. 1.5 million residents of nursing homes, about 5 times that of the United Kingdom and other European countries. Our country also has a higher prevalence of
Not per capita, but right.
underlying conditions that this virus targets, yet we have fewer deaths per capita than the United Kingdom and most other peer nations in Western Europe.
Most other peer nations. No, there's 2 other countries ahead of us.
So that's an
They're not in line with us. Like every other European country is below us on that
important.
list.
We have fewer deaths per capita than the United Kingdom and most other nations in Western Europe.
That's a lie. We are definitely doing better than the United Kingdom, but largely because the United Kingdom, specifically England, Great Britain, under Boris Johnson, has followed the mentality of this asshole and waited even longer. And it's a smaller, more confined space. It's much more like New York as a space as far as the population density versus friggin' Montana.
And heading for
Yeah, the U.S. is ahead of India. This is true.
even stronger numbers, but
This is factual, though. Which part? Just that Great Britain is ahead of us? Yeah. But we're pitiful on that list.
one person is too much as far as I'm concerned. Should have
But we got to open up. And so if you got to, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs.
never been allowed to happen. Should have never been allowed to escape China.
They'd let it out. Why did you let it escape Washington State?
Nationwide, we continue to see encouraging signs. In the last 7 days, nationwide cases declined by 14%. Hospitalization
Okay. How many is that by practical numbers? A decline of 14% nationwide. So where's it going up and where's it going down? Because if you have a high density population area and the number of people being infected or dying is going down because they've got a handle on it, these poorly run democratic states and governments, and then these redneck states all throughout the South, the Southwest, and the West. He mentions the West because of the bleed from Arizona into Southern California. As those start to go up, what you get, that 14% number because you're overlapping.
decreased by 7%. Fatalities decreased by 9%. Arizona and Florida are improving
3 to 5% is always within the margin of error.
rapidly with fewer patients coming to emergency rooms by far, as well as decreasing cases, decreasing fatalities, and expanded hospital capacities. So
Expected and expanded. Again, this is that dipshit thing where you can't, if you mispronounce a word, I do it all the time. Back up and try again. There's no shame in it. But this weird thing, like now they've got expected and expanded.
we have an expanded hospital capacity. It's
And an expected hospital capacity as well.
pretty dramatic when you look at it, meaning we have more room should we need it. So a lot of tremendous work has been done.
Yeah, they can take people in the ICU and just go ahead and put them in the morgue. You know how you're expanding hospital capacity? Refrigerator trucks, you dick.
In Texas, likewise, the number of patients going to emergency rooms has dropped from July by more than 2/3. That's a lot. Nevertheless, we continue to monitor Texas very closely. Terrific governor, terrific people working on that whole situation in Texas, especially at its test positivity rate, which rose over 20% this weekend. Overall, cases in Texas are coming down and have stabilized in the.
Yeah, there. If you count all the like the low population areas, Christ, Dallas and Houston are eating shit, and El Paso and Austin. But you know, like Pork Rind, Texas, they're doing fine.
Border.
Freedom, Camel Toe River, South Texas.
Counties, that's again where you have the wall and you're next to, in some cases, the wall. In some cases, you'll have it very shortly. You'll have it all built within a number of months. But those areas were hit very hard, and they're likely cases from Mexico that come
Why are they likely cases from Mexico?
in, back and forth from the border. They come in legally. As doctors have found more effective ways to treat patients.
Well, then why would the wall affect the people who come and go legally bringing the disease? You're going to build a wall just around the cells in the person's body? That's what I mean by therapeutics. We're going to build a wall through some people. Some people have it, they've got COVID toes, but they have no symptoms in there. They don't have the sniffles or something. You just build a wall right through their abdomen.
The fatality rate continues to improve. Texas
Love tubing on the old Camel Toe River. It's a good time.
is 1/6 the fatality rate of New York and New Jersey that they had in April. And if you look at New York and New Jersey, they work very, very hard, but very heavy density, and there are a lot of different kinds of difficulty.
Yeah, we also were 3 months. We're now 3 months advanced in our fight against this thing, and science is figuring out how to treat it. That's how that works. It's not because you did anything.
Fatality rates in Florida and Arizona are between.
Because literally millions of people worldwide are waking up every morning trying to find a way to stop this thing in its tracks. And you aren't one of them. Golfing.
25 and 33% of the peak rates of New York and New Jersey. Again, different climate, a different grouping, different density, tremendously different density.
Mm-hmm. You are my density. My destiny.
In California, the situation is starting to stabilize and improve throughout the major metropolitan areas. Statewide,
Yeah, we know that. We know the bleed over is from Arizona.
hospitalizations continue to decline very substantially, with about
What's wrong with Trump's face and hair? It's attached to the rest of him.
20% fewer inpatients now than on July 21st. California is starting to really show signs of correcting.
No.
We're monitoring regions with increasing cases, including Boston, Chicago, and the Midwest, and we're monitoring
The Midwest and the Midwest. Boston, Chicago, and the Midwest.
very, very strongly. And
It's like when he says DC, New York, and other places, his idea of the map of America.
very, very hard. I do want to say that I think at the end of a fairly short period of time, you're going to be in very, very good shape all over our country.
Yeah, dude, you said that in February. Christ almighty. Might I could put their school class on TV so their country's children could get lessons without Wi-Fi. America's not leading the way. Agreed.
Every loss of life is tragic, and all nations must work together to defeat this horrible virus.
And that's why I'm so excited to be reading to you with my index finger, farting my way through this speech, and bored shitless.
My administration is going to continue to save as many lives as possible. We are working round the clock, everybody. I mean, it's incredible how hard they're working. And people from other countries, we're working with them also, and they're working very hard. This
Yeah, that's why you have people working round the clock. Thank you.
is something that's now attacked
Thank God.
188 different countries. There are a wide range of factors that determine how the virus impacts a nation, such as age, underlying conditions.
Underlying.
Underlying conditions is a very big one. If you're sick in any way, if especially they say heart and diabetes, that's not.
No, heart. They don't say if you have a heart. Everybody has a heart. If you have heart disease, if you have specifically hypertension, heart and diabetes.
A good thing to have if you're going to have this, if you're going to catch it. So we're trying to protect especially those
What?
people.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute.
and
All the
diabetes.
best words. What?
If you're sick in any way, if especially they say heart and diabetes, that's not a good thing to have. If
Hold on. I gotta grab that clean
conditions
in my.
is age, underlying conditions. Underlying conditions is a very big one. If you're sick in any way, if especially they say heart and diabetes, that's not a good thing to have. If you're going to have this, if you're going to catch it. So we're trying to protect especially those people that have problems with their heart or diabetes and levels of pre-existing immunity.
You mean like 60% of the American public? I mean, do we need to do this right now? Do we need to overlap the two biggest concerns about the obesity epidemic in the United States, which is the ongoing factor that as a comorbidity, this puts more people at risk in the United States than any other developed nation? That 60% of our populace is overweight or obese. That increases your chances of complications from this. And if you do get a vaccine, people who are overweight or obese, especially those who are obese or morbidly obese, vaccines have less efficacy because your body has to split up all the cells that's in the shot over a broader area. You're a bigger person, and your body's the fat density, the blood flow, just the issues with being obese make vaccines less efficacious.
Resulting from past exposure to other viruses, which happens. We must stop politicizing the virus and instead be united in our condemnation of how this virus came to America,
We need to stop. Don't politicize the virus. I'm sorry, the Kung flu. And really, it's Chinese people's fault. But don't politicize it. We've all got to come together and recognize that I'm president of the United States, but it's really not my fault. This came from somewhere else.
this virus came to the world, and we're going
From another planet. Oh my God, it was on that asteroid that landed outside of Minsk.
to figure it out, and we're going to find out, and we're very angry about it.
I'm so pissed. Totally so pissed.
On the therapeutics and vaccine
Oh my
updates, 3
God.
vaccine candidates are currently in phase 3 clinical trials, something that would have been impossible under
Had we not skipped phase 2
the
entirely
previous administration or any other
and rushed phase 1.
administration. And several others are showing considerable promise. We have great companies, very well-known companies. I think everyone in this room would know these companies, but they're the biggest and the best in the world.
You mean giant pharmaceutical companies that you said were your enemy about a week ago, and your little paranoid flare up?
Working with other foreign companies and countries that have
Both. Sure.
been really working very closely with us.
You mean Russia and China? Or it's different. Yeah.
We're trading. We're not looking
I thought you were talking about just like your financial well-being after your presidency, but yeah.
to do anything but come up with the answer.
1, 2, 5, 3, sir. Yes, 3.
We really don't. We don't care. We want to come up with the answer. If it's one of ours or one of theirs, it's okay. We have to come up with the answer, and we're very close to getting it. Some people think we have it. We may have it.
Who thinks this? You do.
We have the best scientists in the world racing to develop a safe vaccine that will end this pandemic, save millions of lives, and that's millions of lives all over the world, and end the harm inflicted by this virus to our society and to all other.
There is a Minsk, Russia, but there's also Minsk in Belarus, no question. There's like 6 of them, so don't get too caught up in the semantics, kid.
Last week, the NIH began a clinical trial of remdesivir paired with another approved antiviral drug and anti-inflammatory drug. You know that remdesivir has been very successful.
Yeah, and it's hard to make, and we bought up all of it, and it's only enough doses for like 19,000 people.
And now they're experimenting with others, including antivirals and anti-inflammatories.
Yeah, we know. That's beta interferon and dexamethasone. Just don't pretend that you're not talking about the same shit by name dropping them half the time.
And they're having some very interesting success.
Indeed, Mason Johnson.
We've secured enough remdesivir to treat over
Cassie.
650,000 patients. On Saturday, I took executive action in its signing to save American jobs and support American workers. I signed directives to give a payroll tax holiday with the understanding.
Yeah, holiday. So you'll have to pay it back fully, but it'll just stack till the end of the year.
That after the election, on the assumption that it would be victorious for an administration that's done a great job, we will.
You mean the Obama-Biden administration, who created the pandemic response team and set up a structure therein, and also, of course, passed the VA choice bill. Thank you, Paula Reed.
Be ending that tax. We'll be terminating that tax. On the other hand, the other group wants to raise taxes, and they may want to leave it where you pay it. But the payroll tax.
They may want to leave it where you pay it. You mean not poke a giant hole in Social Security?
This is a big deal for people. It's a tremendous saving for people.
But how are people?
And we're going to be doing it, and we intend to terminate it at the end of the appropriate period of time. It's for those making less than $100,000 to the end of 2020 to provide an extra $400.
Which is like almost everybody right now?
A week. Also in unemployment benefits, and to extend the freeze on home evictions. We want to extend the freeze so people aren't evicted. It's not their fault that
Yeah, but the Democrats have a bill to actually fund that so that the people who that receive the rent don't go broke because nobody can afford to pay and they can't evict anybody. If you're, again, this is why you do this by legislation. It's not the renter's fault any more than it is the rentees.
Virus came from China. It's China's fault, and to suspend.
Gonzo, the Biden VP number, he's going to announce this week, and this is completely normal timing period.
Payment.
It's just the news that makes it look like this.
On student loans through the end of the year and then beyond. And again, they're paying interest on loans, and they're not allowed to go to their college. So we're going to suspend payments on student loans through the end of the year, and then
most people paying their student loans graduated already.
Extension, most likely, because it's not fair to the students to have to pay when the colleges aren't doing the job of getting open, and I think probably many of them could be open. So
what?
I want to thank you all. I'm sorry for the disturbance before. Things happen, and if you'd like, we'll take a few questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. Haley said earlier today that you've been working around the clock, so there's no delay to get these enhancement unemployment payments to Americans.
Yeah.
Can you give me your timetable? Are we talking next week, 2 weeks, a month?
Very short period of time. In a couple of weeks, you should be seeing something in a very short period of time. But we're going to do this immediately.
See what
Within the next week or two, you think the states will be able
in the next week or two.
to execute?
So, Mr. Secretary, you're saying when?
I think within the next week or two, most of the states will be able to execute.
Got it. And
By the
most
way,
of the
the
states.
gentleman, you know everybody, you know Russell, you know, but this is Scott Atlas. Do you know that, right? Scott is a very famous man who's also very highly respected, Stanford, and he's working with us and will be working with us on the coronavirus. And he has many great ideas, and he thinks what we've done is really good, and now we'll take it to a new level. And so it's great to have Scott working along with us, and we appreciate it
Scott Atlas, virus puncher.
very much, Scott. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here from Stanford and for sitting there on your ass for this 2-hour flap for no particular reason.
It's really terrific.
Scott Atlas shrugged.
We've had some great discussions.
To follow up on that, Mr. President,
Mr. President, who is John
if
Galt?
you don't mind, you mentioned the states. Have all the governors signed on to this?
We just had a meeting with the governors, and they were very anxious to get money for the people in their states. And if they, depending on the state, we have the right to do what we want to do. We can terminate the 25%, or we don't have to do that. So we'll see what it is. Depends on the individual state. But a lot of money will be going.
Terminate the 25%? You mean in some cases, the states would receive 100% of the extended UI for their citizens because the president wants them to. In other states, the states would have to kick in 25%, so their people would only get 300. So basically, it's a way to pressure states leading up to an election.
To a lot of people very quickly. And I've instructed the Secretary of the Treasury to move as quickly as he can, right? So we'll get it done. Yeah, please.
I have a question about coronavirus, but I wanted to just ask you to be clear on the incident outside. There's a fairly significant perimeter around the White House. Does it concern you at all that someone who was armed was able to get so close that you needed to be removed from the briefing room?
Well, I don't know if he was close or not, he or she. I don't know if it was a he or she, but I have such confidence in these people.
Wait a minute. So there's a shooter on the ground. They were killed by Secret Service. You left the briefing. You came back to the briefing, and they weren't able to give you any information about the shooter before you came in. I mean, pretending not to know is one thing. He may just be lying. But the idea that he doesn't know is just either goofy or he doesn't care.
They're so good. And I don't think the person breached anything. It was on the outside ground. So I don't believe anything was breached. I asked that question. So they were relatively far away.
On coronavirus,
By the way, they had to stage this where they walk him out because this is the fastest he would move. And after the Biden bicycling video came out, they can't have the last fast thing Trump did was the last 13 inches of a ramp he should have been able to walk down without looking like he was going to tumble.
97,000 children tested positive for coronavirus in the last 2 weeks in July, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics. Does that give you any pause about schools reopening for in-person learning?
Because they may have, as you would call it, a case. It may be a case, but it's also a case where there's a tiny fraction of death. Tiny fraction.
Yeah, compared to 0 kids dying from this otherwise.
And they get better very quickly. Yeah, they may have it for a short period of time, but as you know,
No, Trump does not know how to ride a bike. No question, not even debatable. That man cannot ride a bicycle. He will fall over.
seriousness of it.
He can't drive a car. Donald Trump can't drive a car. He sure as shit couldn't drive a stick shift. And the only reason, the way he could drive an automatic is if somebody from the Secret Service had a remote control for the vehicle and was driving it for him while he pretended to do this and go boom, boom, honk, honk.
In terms of what it leads to is extraordinarily small, very, very much less than 1%.
Yeah, and how many kids die during a normal school year?
Jonathan,
Believe that children are essentially immune?
Yeah, I think that for the most part they do very well. I mean, they don't get very sick. They don't catch it easily. They don't get very sick. And according to the people that I've spoken to, they don't transport it or transfer it to
Transmit it.
other people, or
And yes, they do.
certainly not very easily.
This is a man who had nothing to do with his children's upbringings and never saw them off to school, fixed them a meal, changed their diapers, combed their hair, got them to brush their teeth, helped fix breakfast, made sure they studied, went over homework, practiced, a musical instrument with them so they got better at it, like outsourced every aspect of parenting. And he's like, they don't transmit it.
So, yeah, I think schools have to open. We want to get our economy going. We have incredible numbers despite this. If we could get this going, I think it's a very important thing for the economy to get the schools going. Jonathan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. In Ohio,
Yeah, so that everybody get it, because he thinks one of the things keeping people from going back to work is that they can't use the schools as a babysitting service.
a few days ago, you said, I'll quote, Joe Biden has hurt God. He's against God. The vice president has said that he's a man of deep Catholic faith, and he's credited for helping him endure some immense personal tragedy. So, sir, what did you mean by that when you say that Joe Biden has hurt God or is against God?
Well, if you look at the manifesto that they've come up with, and if you look at their stance on religion and things having to do very importantly with aspects of religion and faith, I don't think a
Like what?
man of deep religion would be agreeing to the Bernie Sanders plan. You take a look at what they have in, and you can't put that into the realm of a religious group of people, I will say that. And I think it's one of the reasons why, if you look at polls, which I'm not a big believer in polls, if I was, I guess I wouldn't be standing here right now. And by the way, our poll numbers are going up very rapidly.
But I don't believe in him.
And Joe's are going down very rapidly. He'll have to come out of the basement, it looks like, pretty soon.
Did you see him riding a bicycle again? Is anybody going to bring it up?
Because that, it's one of those things. But no, if you look at the manifesto, I call it the manifesto. A lot of people are calling it the manifesto. My
No, you call it the manifesto, and your followers do, because if they don't, you get mad.
opinion, it's further left than where Bernie was before. So normally,
Yeah, but what part of that couldn't be equated with someone being godly and wanting to take care of their fellow man? Like, I don't agree with all of it either. But, like, this is the reason why Biden is against God and against the Bible.
he'd be left, and you'd bring it somewhere a little bit toward the center. But some of the things that they have down there, and I'm not only talking in terms of religion, I'm not talking even in terms of religion.
Right. God forbid, because that was the fucking question.
But some of the things they have in the agreement made, and this was an agreement made by Bernie Sanders and Joe, it's a terrible thing. It would be a terrible thing for our country. It will destroy our country. We will go into a depression. We will put on regulation. We will double and triple tax.
How is that against God? What the shit does that have to do with anything?
It will be terrible for health care, just terrible. You'll have 180 million people lose their health care.
Why? Based on what?
It will be a terrible, terrible thing for our
Why would 180 people lose? Because Biden wants to add a public option?
country. Okay, yeah, please, Jeff.
That would increase coverage by like 42 million people,
Sir, I'd like to ask you a
including the 24 that were still covered by the ACA that you've been trying to knock off.
question about something you said in Bedminster as well. You said that you're planning to issue an executive order to ensure that health insurance companies prevent or cover people with
Yes.
pre-existing conditions, and you said that that had never been done before, but that's not the case, because that is the law under the Affordable Care Act. So my question is, why do you need to issue an
Well, I
executive
said
order
no.
for law that is already
Yeah,
existing?
but I didn't say, I said as an executive order.
Yeah, no, because Obama and Biden actually negotiated an entire bill and got it passed and signed into law.
As you said as an executive order, it hasn't been done before.
Yeah, because that's stupid. And it's unconstitutional. If you do it as an executive order, there is no way that stands up in court. Because the equal protection aspect of the law covers all businesses equally. And if an insurance company can be forced to take on clients that will deliberately remove money from their bottom line at the expense of their investors, at the expense of their employees, all that kind of stuff, you can do that with any company. They're not special. They don't have because of the Republicans, they don't have a specific distinction in federal law. So if the president can write into law that a company must provide services to people that cause it to lose money, then auto companies are going to have to give away a certain amount of free cars every year, and that, to the point where they will no longer be profitable and disappear from the face of the earth. Like, that's a super simple one. You can't make them cover pre-existing conditions and the fact that people have ongoing needs and take off things like lifetime caps, and not set up a structure by which there's money that goes in to cover those costs.
We want to be able to assure people.
Yeah, assuring people and actually doing it is a totally different thing.
That pre-existing condition is always taken care of. As you know, we've done.
How are you going to? Okay, are you going to force doctors, nurses, physical therapists, surgeons, practitioners, elder care facilities, the people that work in those facilities to work for free on people with pre-existing conditions or that would normally have a lifetime cap on the available treatments and the money available to them? Are you? I mean, that's the only other way is forced labor.
Tremendous things having to do with the individual mandate. We got rid of the individual mandate.
Yeah, which is how you pay for things like covering pre-existing conditions and making sure that hospital costs go down, because uninsured people who go to the emergency room are the reason we all pay $500 for an aspirin at the hospital.
From Obamacare, which really ended Obamacare as it would be officially known, because the individual mandate was the biggest part. It was also the most unpopular part, where you pay for a terrible privilege of overpaying for insurance. You pay not to have to pay for your health care, and that was a disaster.
You pay for insurance so you don't have to pay for your health care. You know how fucking insurance works. How stupid is this guy? That's why you pay insurance, so that the entire cost, if you get sick or injured, doesn't fall on you.
For people, and a very unpopular.
Thank you, Ben DeLoco. Reminding everybody to give us a thumbs up and a like. Enjoy the show, and welcome, and how are you, and happy Monday.
Was called the individual mandate, and we terminated that, and officially
it was the way you funded all the other parts that you're talking about.
Terminated that, and that was something that we have been given thanks for by many, many people.
Yeah, idiots who welcome the idea of going bankrupt because they get a cancer diagnosis.
The individual mandate will always be with us. The individual mandate termination will always be. They can't start it up. In fact, I don't even believe, you'll have to tell me, I don't believe it's been challenged when we ended it. And pre-existing conditions, the Republicans are 100% there.
How? How do you pay for it?
And I'll be issuing.
Who pays for those folks? Are you going to be setting up effectively, are you going to be able to jettison medical costs and bankruptcies entirely with no other effect on your credit score because you had to jettison those things? Because that's effectively how you do it. You just, the medical facilities or the practitioners or the doctors or the nurses, they all write it off on their taxes as a loss. The hospitals write it off as a loss, and the federal government pays them back.
At some point in the not too distant future, a very strong statement on that, probably in the form of an executive order.
But how do you do? What are you talking about? Probably a very strong statement on that in the form of an executive. This is fucking gibberish.
We'll be issuing at some point in the not too distant future a very strong statement on that, probably in the form of an executive order.
Why do you need her to do an executive order if it's already a part of existing
just a double
law?
safety net, and just to let
a double safety net, just to make shit up. I want to protect it from my lawyers getting it scuttled.
People know that the Republicans are totally, strongly in favor of pre-existing condition, taking care of people with pre-existing conditions. It's a signal to people. It's a second platform. We have pre-existing conditions will be taken care of 100%.
How? How do you pay for it? How do you force companies to cover people with pre-existing conditions with no way to financially manage that? To what extent? What are you talking about? This is gibberish.
By Republicans and the Republican Party.
Yeah, it's a PR statement.
I actually think it's a very important statement. Yes.
Yeah, because the minute people realize you're actually scuttling the part of the ACA that covers it, they're going to be a bit concerned for their children born with spina bifida or people who had acne apparently and now have cancer, and companies can call that a pre-existing condition and drop them from the insurance rolls right as they get a disease.
Mr. President, do you still intend to try to hold an in-person G7 meeting in the United States at some point in August and September, and have you already sent out invitations to do so?
No, we haven't sent out invitations. We're talking to them. As you know, I was on the phone with many of them yesterday with respect to Lebanon, which is truly one of the saddest, most catastrophic things I've ever seen.
Really? Have you just not been paying attention? I'm very sorry for the people of Lebanon and Beirut, and it is very sad. But do you remember Chernobyl? I mean, you were around for Mount St. Helens, Flint, Michigan? Anybody?
They have no idea how many people have died. They're having revolution right now in that country. It's just a terrible thing. But I was yesterday, 8 o'clock in the morning. We had our time. We had a big teleconference call. Some of those people were there.
He's saying 8 o'clock because he wasn't up yet.
I'm much more inclined to do it sometime after the election. We were going to do it in September. They'd like to do it. We could do it through teleconference, or we could do it through a meeting, but I sort of am now suggesting, I told my people yesterday actually, why don't we do it sometime after the election when things are a little bit, you have a little more time to think about it.
V. Gabriel, thank you so much. Too cool for what you did. We get tired all the time. Oh man, rest well, and glad you could just hang out with us. Just laugh and relax. It's gonna be okay. And so, basically, he wants the G7 after the election because if he loses, he knows that any information he garners during that time, he can use to his financial benefit as he leaves office.
That's very important. The G7 is very important.
To that meeting?
I don't know, but we have invited a number of people to the meeting. I certainly
You invite Russia?
would invite him to the meeting. I think he's an important factor. But we will invite certain people that aren't in the G7. Some people have already accepted, but we're going to be doing it after the election. I think
What, Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping?
it's a better atmosphere to have a G7. I think it's a lot.
Thea, thank you so much for the gifting of the sub.
I think it's just a better, calmer atmosphere to have a G7. Yeah, please.
I wanted to ask Secretary Mnuchin, actually, have you spoken to any Democrats since Friday, or have they reached out to you at all about restarting negotiations?
I've spoken to several Democrats. I have not spoken to Schumer and Pelosi since then.
Do you expect, would you reach out at all to them to try and
Yeah, anytime they want to meet and they're willing to negotiate and have a new proposal, we're more than happy to meet.
They're hurting people very badly. This would have been so easy for them to do. And I saw that Senator Schumer said today on a show, I don't know what show, but he said today on a show that we should meet, we should do something. But, you know, where has he been for, how many weeks have you been negotiating? Like 4? And they should do something. It would have been so much easier than doing it the way we did it. But we did something that's very important and frankly.
No, you signed 4 pieces of useless paper with your position on the only things you want from the deal. Hold on. Let's see. Trump executive orders. I made an extra D on that. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. And thank you, Dark Paranormal. Yeah, here you go. The Lincoln Project just put this out. Hold on. I'll open it up in here so it doesn't jump around. This is I'll have to turn this up.
Nobody ever heard of it. Signing executive orders is not the way our country was supposed to be run. Nobody ever heard of an executive order. Then all of a sudden Obama, because he couldn't get anybody to agree with him, he starts signing them like they're butter.
You have a president that signs
You signing butter. Why is my pen all gooey? Thanks, Rocky Mountain Mike.
executive orders because he can't get anything done.
He signs on immigration and on other things. I want to not use too many executive orders, folks. The executive orders are an outrage. We have a president that can't lead. He said, the hell with it. I'm not going to do this anymore. I want to rest and I want to do other things, including going out play golf. This guy played hundreds of rounds of golf.
It's, I mean, it's like he's a man from the future talking about some asshole in the past. It looks a lot like.
It's been well received, very well received.
That's right. Rocky Mountain Mike joins us here live, Gonzo. It happened.
Dave, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You tweeted earlier today that you're considering
McConnell won't meet in the same room with Nancy Pelosi. I don't doubt it, Roger. It's an emasculating process, and she knows how to treat it.
Gettysburg as a venue for your speech for the RNC nomination.
You know, this is so. Will it be Gettysburg or the White House? This means is he losing the second Civil War? Is he just going to come out and go boogaloo, and then they're all going to, you know, rush the battlefield?
What's your thinking behind that as a possible location?
Well, I think I've been to Gettysburg numerous times. It's a national park. It's a national.
Okay. So tell us all about it.
Historic site. It's incredible.
Thank you, Amber.
You know, it's the history. It's incredible, actually, to me.
Which part? What part? The part where we need to recognize our heritage through the Confederate flag and keep up our statues of General Lee.
It was a very important place and is a very important place in our country. So we're looking at that.
He wasn't sharper than Jennifer. He was just more coked up. It was easier for him to get the chemicals that he snorts back then under the table and around corners with Keith Schilling and all those people gathering up all his rails that he puts together that he snorts. It's a little harder when he's president because there's people all around all the time. Oh, hype train in the Twitch side of things. Look at that. It's fantastic. Whatever. I feel like I should be doing some kind of crazy thing. You've learned you have a limited time to earn exclusive emotes is what it says. Sub gift or use bits to get to the next level. Get to the next level. Hype it up. Hype people on Twitch. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Mike Engels.
And we're looking at the White House. The White House would be very much easier for Secret Service. You see what just went on here.
Asshole, you just went to Tulsa. You've gone to Camp David. You went to Bedminster. You went to Mar-a-Lago. Go to your own fucking place and do it. Go to Bedminster. Do it from Bedminster. You're just using the White House as a prop.
They're all here. Just like you have your seats, they have their seats at the White House.
Yeah, they can sit at Bedminster at Mar-a-Lago. Piss off. Do it at your little post office hotel down the street that you own illegally and that you jack up the prices on during it. Thanks, Kathy. I mean, I know there are increasing, number of places where you're completely unwelcome, but
so there wouldn't be any expense or any extraordinary expense.
You would just, the RNC and the Trump campaign wouldn't have to spend any money. It would be all on the taxpayer's dime. That when he says there wouldn't be any expense, what he means is we would pay for it. All of it, not just the part where an incumbent president traveled.
The White House would be a lovely place to do it also. Least expensive place.
That's Kennedy used to say that.
You could do it.
I think that was his pickup line with Marilyn Monroe.
Would be at the White House. This is a government expense, and look,
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. The security of the president is a government expense. Your travel and the secondary security at the venue and the other places is an RNC and campaign event. They pay for that part.
Watch also with governments. I watch to make sure that
Did he just fart on himself? Is that what happened? I missed that part of it.
do what's right. But we're looking at this is a government expense, and I watch also with governments. I watch to make sure that we do what's right. But we're looking at Gettysburg, and we're looking at the White House, and we have other sites too. But I think these.
I'm not going to suggest Ford Theater. No, we do not go there on this show. It's a good joke, but I'm not going there.
Two really beautiful sites. Jennifer?
Would you envision having an audience for that speech?
You could. You have plenty of room at both locations.
That's not the point.
I see John Roberts.
Not because people can't fit, dickhead.
John, you were outside. You said you heard shots fired before?
2 shots in rapid succession just after you took the podium.
And they were shots, pretty much.
They were shots pretty much. Yeah. A hammer hit a cap inside a shell, or I don't know, they might have been muskets. We don't know. Could have been flint striking a steel plate, setting black powder alight, causing a projectile to travel forward, perhaps twice, pretty much.
You definitely.
I heard a fart. Was that him? Yes, that was him. I'm kidding. That's one of my standard. That's actually the clump part in my arsenal of these are all these. Those are the ones I have. This one's gross. That's the only one I have. So those are the ones I have. He just waved his hand.
I know the difference. I know that. You know the difference. You thought they were shots, John?
You know the difference between a shot and not a shot? What the shit are you talking about?
They sound like
did Secret Service not tell him? Honest to God. Okay. Anyone listening to the sound of my voice, anybody in the audience right now, you're president of the United States. Secret Service comes to you. Your main detail comes up to you. Dude is beat red when he walks in. Mr. President, we're going to need to take you out. Totally embarrassed to have to interrupt that part of it, but also dealing with a genuine threat, and that is protocol. We got to get you away from the windows. We have a shooter in the area. Right? Doing their fucking job. Great guys. They don't care who they're detailed to. They're protecting the country, not the guy. They're doing what they got to do. Guy comes in. I mean, his head looks like a tomato. And he comes in, guides him off. He's gone for a little while. All the networks who are running a live feed of it shut down, pause, wait for him to come back. When they reopen, he's asking the Fox reporter, did it sound like gunfire to you? Was it gunfire? I don't know if it's a man or a woman. I don't know any of this stuff. And it'd be one thing to say, I can't say that, the details of the Secret Service are going to give you a briefing or whatever, but everyone is safe, and we hope that, that everybody, feels safe being here. They handled it very professionally. They'll give you a full briefing later, but let's get back to what we're talking to. Like, you can do that, but this is just, I don't think he actually listened. So you're sitting outside my backyard neighborhood, so far he thinks, sorry, Richmond.
Report inside when I went inside. It's a good report, too. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It's a good report that it sounded pretty much like 2 shots. Great. You can take that to the bank.
Jennifer, please.
Can you give us an update on China? Do you think your administration will respond to the sanctions
Somebody's alarm's going off in there.
that China announced this morning on American officials?
Well, we've already responded in many different ways. We're talking a lot about China. We shouldn't have been talking about China. We did a phase 1 deal, and it was a wonderful deal, and all of a sudden it means...
It wasn't a deal. It was phase 1 of a deal, meaning the deal itself was not complete. They had hurdles they had to jump, and we had to answer those properly. They don't trust us. We don't trust them. That's why there were phases. There was no deal. And even the phase 1 deal, we ended up paying $68 billion for the agricultural goods that China was supposed to buy for $50 billion that they would have bought anyways. The trade deficit between us and China has very little to do with agricultural goods, if anything at all.
Very little in the overall import of things. They should have never.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, really. It's just the largest producing country and developing nation in the world, and they've provided us, especially Walmart, with 86% of the goods sold in their stores. Not
Never allowed what happened to the world, including us. But this was released into Europe, and it was released into the U.S., and it was.
Oh, so they did it on purpose. So what they do, they just Olga Kiev'd it, just opened a bunch of boxes, released birds with COVID attached to their feet. They just landed on every windowsill in the kingdom.
Released all throughout the world, but it wasn't released into China.
They were trying to stop it within their country. Why didn't we do equal measures of tracking, tracing, and quarantine to stop it in ours? Besides, civil liberties being what they are, but at the very least, how come you couldn't get it to not leave Washington State?
And we were doing numbers that will, just were incredible.
Number 2 comes to mind.
And we hope to be able to do them perhaps even next year. I think we're going to have an incredible year next year, but that will never pay for.
We'll go back in business. Yeah, we're hoping next year we'll just restart the whole business thing with China. I mean, I'm accusing them of attacking us with a bioweapon and Europe and the rest of the world and trying to kill people in 189 countries. But I don't see why that would interrupt us being able to continue into phase 2.
For the loss of life in our country and all over the world. So we view China differently than we did 8 months ago. Very much differently.
Why?
Yes, please.
Is there still any consideration of delisting Chinese companies? Is that an ongoing discussion?
Delisting?
Delisting Chinese companies?
We never comment on specific things, but no, there's nothing
Could it
in
still be on the
particular.
table?
But no.
There's again, nothing specifically at the moment done. Are you talking about delisting?
From the US
Comments
Stock
on the
Exchange?
exchange?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so just to be clear, we did make the recommendation, and the SEC will be putting out, but yes, as of the end of...
Nice work, everybody. 13 subs and 2,200 bits over at Twitch. You guys are crazy. And thank you for the super chats over on YouTube. Facebook, you're slacking. Stack 'em, yak 'em. I think you can become a member of the Facebook page now or something if you want to be helpful. No. No, that's fine. Just sit there on the couch eating everyone's snacks that they brought to the party. Thanks to everyone who brought snacks to the party and who's actually come here to help and contribute. We'll just let Facebook just sleep on the sofa then.
Next year, if they do not fully comply, and
oh, nice, Gonzo.
Chinese companies, any of.
How do you get many super chats from Facebook? I get no super chats from Facebook. That is strictly a YouTube thing.
Companies, they all have to comply with the same exact accounting, or they will be delisted on the exchanges. I thought you meant sanctions. I was confused when you said delisted.
And Jennifer, we're also talking.
Wait, please. Wait. Okay, so what they mean by delisting is that there's a bunch of Chinese companies that are partly owned by the government that are complete fart air, as the Chinese would call it, feng pi, F-A-N-G-P-I, feng pi, fart air. And this is a way they often describe companies that make nothing, that are completely, it smells substantial, but there's nothing really there, if you know what I mean. And so there has been a movement for quite some time, by the way, for the last 10 years, as this has grown as a problem, because that's also part of the issue. It's been in the last 10 years that it's really, people become aware of what's going on business-wise in China, and how, like, you're investing in a company over there that both the government owns part of and doesn't allow the funds that have gone into the country to leave the country after the fact. So trying to get your investment back is impossible just for governmental reasons. But the companies themselves are either so corrupt or just simply cease to exist at some point that it's basically a con. And so they're the way they, if you want to be listed on the stock market, you have to be open with who's investing. You have to have meetings with stockholders. You got to give them an idea of where your money's going, where it's sitting. That, the only exceptions in some cases are like Boeing and some of the other ones that have government contracts, but you get to see the number of how much money's going to the government contracts and for what, like in aerospace and shit like that, but not how it breaks down. So you got to kind of make a judgment on their stock worth as an investor based entirely on whether or not you think the news that there's going to be more planes and fighter planes and bombs and shit like that they built. But these Chinese companies, when they bother to show their their books, a lot of times it's just crap. It's just a lie. There's no real truth to it. And so that's what, and so they're talking about removing them from the, delisting them from the stock exchange so people don't invest in a company that doesn't actually exist. But, it's something that we've, I thought you were talking about something else entirely.
On the
Oh, thanks, Peter Parker 55 for subscribing with Prime.
WTO, the World Trade Organization.
Thanks for spelling that out for us.
China's treated much differently than we are.
I'm going to go to favored nations, and they shouldn't have gotten.
This should have been handled many years ago when it first happened.
When they were heavily impoverished.
But they're treated as a nation that's developing. They're treated as what they call a developing nation, which.
Yeah, because they've been a developing nation for a very long time, and they have an enormous population. So they still have hundreds of millions of people living in abject poverty. There are more people living in abject poverty in China than the entire population of the United States, the UK, France, and Germany put together. Until those 400 million people don't have food scarcity issues, don't have towns that are made, in ways that a hard rain will wash them away, they're still developing, you could say.
Gives them tremendous incentives and
Does this sound low? All of a sudden, it's okay on my end.
advantages over and above what the United States gets, and over and above what other countries get also. This is
that's because we have our own poverty and hunger issues in our country, but they're nowhere near the scale of China and India, for example.
a developing nation. I don't think so. I don't think for purposes of what we're talking about, it should be.
Well, DJ Dunamis, there are 500,000 slaves in China as well. That's an entire other conversation, and one worth having. I agree.
And we are putting in, and we've already put in a request that China should
I understand, Gonzo.
no longer be declared a developing nation and have advantages over the U.S. And I told them that a year ago, and I told them that 2 years ago, and we put it in very powerfully that they should not have advantages over other countries, frankly, and sure, they're not going to have any more advantages over this.
Well, they should have the developing nation status because, again, they have hundreds of millions of poor people that they still have to figure out how to get food to and supply housing to and all that kind of stuff. But it should their developing nation status should be predicated on whether or not they're actually doing that, and outside countries or members of the WTO should be able to verify it, much like we verify people denuclearizing and the like. Adult shit.
It have been done by numerous presidents a long time ago because.
No, because a long time ago, China was in abject poverty. There was no long time ago, you dick. This didn't start till the mid-90s. China has risen largely because of their entrance into the world market and specifically becoming a capitalist country. They are a shining example of capitalism. It is now, unfortunately, run roughshod over every management and regulation in the country. It has now become a kleptocracy on the ground and a communist regime on top. It's very weird. It is, like Russia, they used to say that Russia existed like 80% state-run and 20% black market was the economy of Russia for a long time. And Russia knew that without allowing that 20% black market, the people would rise up and be so uncomfortable they would want to shut it down, which is ultimately what happened because eventually they tried to come in and move that 80% to 85, 90%, wiping out the black market underneath without replacing it with anything. And the people got fed up and grew. But what they used to do is if it got to be 22%, 25%, then they would start brooming some of the black market, jeans and music and food and shit like that. China's the exact opposite. China is the inverse. It's an 80-20 black market side. Everything is all what's called guanxi, which is like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You cannot start a business or operate a business in China without guanxi. And having been there 7 times in the last 2 years before the pandemic started, I've seen it firsthand. I love Chinese people. I love the traditional Chinese culture. I love the ingenuity of a lot of the Chinese people that I got to meet while I was over there. But overall, structurally, they're a mess. They're 5 countries. They're much like Russia at this, but the USSR. 6 countries stitched together under the Soviet Union, and that needed to be broken up so that they could each operate in a functional way. So, Belarus and Ukraine and all those should be their own countries because they're fundamentally different from the culture even of Russia in that regard. In much the same way that the UK is an economic joining, but the Irish and the Scottish and the Brits have not necessarily had a great relationship over the years, and they are 3 distinct countries in that regard. And that's what all the fighting, about the unifying of the United Kingdom has been about. The same thing is true of China. Since the Qing dynasty, the uniting of all those giant swaths, like the population explosion in those areas would be manageable on a regional governor's issue if they became presidents of a country. But the number is so goddamn large, and nobody can keep track of anything else. And everything is fake. It's the weirdest thing. Like I told you guys, in this kind of a side note, but when I was in China, one biggest thing that's smuggled into China more than anything else is chocolate. Hong Kong has real chocolate, and in China, there's so much fake chocolate. It's not real. There's no cocoa involved. It's all just chemical. That real chocolate is fabricated, it's a commodity. And inside the country, all the chocolate you eat is fake. And it's, God knows if it's healthy or toxic or just sugar and garbage, but it's like, they call it chocolate and it's not. It's a lie. It's beyond the fact that it's like we have over here chocolatey versus chocolate, that idea where, Cocoa Puffs are chocolatey. They add the E part because it's not really chocolate. And they're not legally allowed to bullshit you. In China, they're illegally allowed to bullshit you as much as until they get caught, I guess. So the laws are fairly fluid. But they had a huge problem over in China of fake vaccines, just saline vaccines in children. They had these outbreaks of measles and all kinds of other shit because they were faking these things. And then they also had fake baby formula, which had like sawdust in it and all that shit. It was horrifying. So, go look up baby formula, like fake baby formula China, and you'll see all the stories.
It gives them a tremendous boost over everybody else, and it's a very unfair situation.
No, it's fair, but you have to manage it.
No, we are upset with China because of what they did. China was not good, and
well said. Well said.
China will be. If you look at what's going to happen, whether it's Iran, Iran will make a deal with us in a month after the election's over.
Why? Why would they make a deal with us? Based on what? Do they think you're going to keep the deal?
We win the election. But their greatest dream in the world is that Joe Biden wins because they will own this country. China will own this country.
Why? China's not going to own any country going forward. And as a matter of fact, you know what's going to come back up? They'll rename it. But you know what's going to come back up during a Biden administration? A version of TPP, a Trans-Pacific Partnership that isolates China. That was the purpose of it in the first place. They knew China was getting outsized control over that they were getting so much money because nobody else had a chance to compete. Taiwan, South Korea, Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, all these countries have factories and shit just like China does, and they could produce things and have, finally get a living wage for some of their people and stuff, but China would undercut them and control whether or not ships could get through and all that stuff. So TPP was set up to start answering some of that shit. There's going to be a version of that when it's coming up because nobody wants to go to, nobody wants to be back in bed with China on that scale again.
Korea will own this country. They will own our country.
No, they won't.
And they're all waiting to see.
And by the way, if they do, it's Walmart's fault.
The election. And if we make
Thank you, Krista.
If we have a win on November 3rd, we will have a deal with, in my opinion, Iran within 1 month.
Based on what? But what's the deal? What are you going to deal with? What kind of deal are you going to make that would make them stop producing nuclear weapons, which they're not anyways?
And I don't know that we want to have a deal with China, to be honest with you. So I'm saying to myself, gee, but China wants us to lose.
Gee.
Very badly. And you know who else is not happy with us winning? Russia. The phony people that tell the story, the fake news stories.
What are you talking about? Of course they want you to win.
About Russia.
They want you, they don't like you. They don't support you. They know you're a chaos agent they have control over.
It was just reported, the numbers.
Yes, I did forget to mention Thailand, Kit. I apologize.
I raised $400 billion extra in NATO. You know that. It went from 130 to $400 billion, and that's a year.
Yeah, while pulling our troops out of places and basically balancing that out by rescinding from NATO and not backing Ukraine.
In order to strengthen up NATO.
As cover.
Nobody says that. We became the biggest energy exporter. We are now, if you look at what we have, we're energy independent. So many different
We were energy independent under
things.
Obama.
Our military is stronger than it ever was. We spent $2.5 trillion on our military.
The most amount of spending in peacetime in our history, I guess. I mean, I don't know what it is in 80s dollars under Reagan. And if you count that, thank you. Yeah, cool. Oh, thanks, man. I mean, can we not just remember shit when we read it? And therefore it makes it much harder for dickheads like this to take advantage?
I exposed the terrible deal between Germany.
So I choose to expose myself.
And Russia on the pipeline. Nobody even knew about the pipeline.
What are you talking about? What do you think the whole Burisma, like turning Burisma into a functioning company so that the oil and gas industry in Ukraine could stabilize, so that Europe could get oil and gas from Ukraine instead of from Russia, was all about? Supporting the sock puppets that were capsizing the Ukrainian government and Burisma itself was all about helping Russia maintain its oil and gas control over Europe. You can't shit on Germany while choking off the other source of energy it would get.
Nord Stream 2. Nobody knew about it. Nobody talked about it. I said, what's this all about? So we protect Germany from Russia, and Germany.
Yes, they're not at war with Russia, but if at some point Russia gets complete control over the oil and gas that's going in there, and they have no other option, they can shut it off and then attack.
Pays Russia billions of dollars a year for energy, and it's a big portion of Germany's energy.
Yeah, they could get it from Ukraine, but for years Russia was undermining the pipeline there, which Hunter Biden and his friends found a bunch of investors to put money into it and fix it. And you used to hear how corrupt, I mean, Burisma was corruption. It was literally, it was corrupt. It still exists, still a company, still there. It's not corrupt anymore because it worked.
If I was a person that was a German citizen, I would not be happy with that deal because they're at a very big disadvantage.
Yeah, they would be pissed at the United States at this point for undermining the security of Ukrainian oil and gas, because that's the other source they can get.
So, no, Russia would not be happy. And I can tell you that China would not be happy at all. We've taken in tens of billions of dollars. There's your head of the Treasury, Steve, right? We've taken.
Steve's not the head of the Treasury.
Tens of
He's the Secretary of the Treasury.
billions of dollars from China. We never took 10 cents from China. Never.
You know, kind of who's head of the Treasury? Nancy Pelosi. Congress has the power of the purse.
Even 10 cents. And $28 billion we gave to our farmers because they were targeted by China. They were actually targeted.
Yeah, $28 billion on top of the other $40 billion from the original payment, $68 billion for $50 billion worth of goods that China was supposed to buy. This is the pay farmers not to grow corn presidency.
And we gave $28 billion compliments of China to our great farmers and ranchers.
China. Compliments of the American taxpayer.
Because they were unfairly targeted by China. in order to make a better deal with us. I said, we're not going to do that. We're going to, instead of making a better deal, we're going to tariff you at very high numbers, 25%, 10%, and actually numbers that could go up a lot. And we had a lot of money left over after giving the $28 billion to the farmers and ranchers and some others, frankly.
Yeah, some others, frankly. You mean foreign owned big agribusiness companies like the Brazilian twins?
We had.
Why are farm bankruptcies up?
Many, many billions of dollars.
So we don't. You could give $400,000 to dozens of different farmers, indie farmers across the country, and make them solvent for decades.
Was left over, and we're still receiving that money, even though.
Why don't I run for President Einstein? That's what I'm going to do in my 60s. Right now, I'm just too young and good looking. I mean, obviously, but keep posing as Russians online.
Made the deal, we're still receiving that money. So if we win the election, we'll have deals with a lot of countries very fast. They just.
Based on what? Why would anyone make a deal with him? He scuttles every deal. Why would Captain Six bankruptcies be trustworthy?
Waiting to see who wins because they are hoping. They are hoping that Joe Biden wins. Sleepy.
No, they're not.
No, and if he wins, you know what's going to happen? China will own us.
TPP.
Our markets will crash.
Why? They went up from 6,400 to 19,600 under Obama, even during a recession.
The 401ks will go down to practically nothing.
Why?
Stocks will go down to practically nothing. Remember.
Why do these companies suddenly lose value because Biden's the president?
Stocks. These big companies, they're owned by millions of people that are carpenters and policemen and
right,
farmers and lots of other people, and they are the ones that benefit by having a good stock market, probably more than anybody else. But the 401.
No, definitely not more than anyone else. Not more than Berkshire Hathaway, not more than Warren Buffett, or like the swing trader assholes all over YouTube. I buy it here, and then this is my position, and then it goes up to here, and I sell here, and then I wait for it to take a shit, and then I buy in here, and then I make money on the upswing, and then I sell it here, and then do you fucking invest in a company? Do you give a shit what it actually makes? Do you care what impact it actually has? You're just riding the cash train artificially on inflated bullshit. Gross.
The stocks, the economy.
I have stock. The vast majority of it is in stuff that I was like, I like that company and I like what they do. I have some feel bad stocks, meaning like I bought a couple of stocks that I was like, it's 50 cents a share. That's just sad. I buy them because I know over time, if I just sit on them and reinvest the dividends, it will help my son go to college.
Economy will be in a shambles. They want to.
Why? Based on what? Have you looked outside? Shootings are at an all-time high. There are riots everywhere. We have a pandemic, 170,000 dead, more like 206, but who's counting? You entered into this with the biggest deficit in presidential history by double what the Obama administration had. You've spent more money to keep the economy in the shitty shape it's in the last 2 months than the Bush and Obama White Houses spent on the first 8 years of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. But Biden's the problem?
His tax.
He's the guy who actually put together the ACA. He's a full-blown capitalist. He's fine with the American system. Dude's a Catholic.
They want to triple taxes.
It's semantic romantic. You're absolutely right. This is absolutely tedious.
To raise the corporate tax, but they want to raise all taxes.
No, okay. So corporate tax rate was at 28%. Or was it 32%? Yeah, something like that. 35, and everybody writes off about 15, right? Of that 35%. So it's really about 28. So what the Obama-Biden White House wanted to do is bring that down to 28%. And what he did was bring it down to 21%. So when you bring it down to 28%, the real payment is 28, or sorry, when you bring it to 28, you're probably paying around 21 with deductions. If you bring it to 21, you're paying less than capital gains with deductions. It's
Ultimately, they can't.
And by the way, we as taxpayers supply all the intellectual property and legal protections for all these countries worldwide. We police them. We send our FBI and everybody after it. You know, if people break intellectual property rights, those violations, like we do that. You don't have to pay a fee. That's in your taxes. But if you don't pay any taxes, then the taxpayer is covering the protection costs for these multinational corporations.
Pay for what they want to do anyway, and what they're going to do is destroy your health care and destroy so many other things. We're going to
destroy your health care. Asshole, they've got the ACA passed. They want to expand it just to add a public option. And you're signing executive orders which you know won't pass. This is part of the reason. Those executive orders are beyond the fact that, you know, these are things that are unpopular with Republicans and they're the ones who are against them this entire time. Let's be abundantly clear, shall we? The Republicans themselves know that if he signs an executive order, a big portion of his supporters will go, hey man, we solved that. Y'all want to keep on, you know, making a mess out of it or whatever. He just signed it and got it done. He got it done, knowing full well that it won't stand up in court. You can't actually do it. And there's no plan to implement it. It's just, you know, he might as well just be signing a flag, like autographing it and handing it out.
180 million people that are so happy with their private health care, they're going to lose it under this crazy plan that these people are proposing. So you will have a crash like you've never seen before.
You mean like the one we just had?
And I've been very good at predicting these things. Yeah, please go ahead.
What do you mean you've been very good at? You mean like predicting the pandemic? So 2 years ago, you scuttled the pandemic response team because you predicted this?
Thank you, Mr. President. You just mentioned President Putin and the possibility of inviting him here because he's important. Your own Director of National Intelligence has said that Russia is currently planning or actually meddling in the election. Have you raised that directly with Putin ever?
They said China, Russia, Iran. No.
They said China and Iran have a clear preference against him because they, like, I guess China, I don't know what Xi Jinping's personal relationship with it is, but clearly they want somebody stable to talk to now after this. I guess all the whole Kung Flu thing meant you're no longer their preferred candidate. You were earlier this year, but once you started saying Kung Flu and accusing them of attacking the country with a bioweapon, that kind of dropped off all of a sudden. Now you're no longer their favorite. It's pitiful. I think they prefer Kanye, but Russia is actively involved in manipulating the electorate. That's like saying, you know, France or Belarus or, you know, or India prefer another, you know, American president. Obviously, that happens with every election. There's a split. Who gives a shit what they prefer? They can't vote, but are they hacking our voter rolls? Are they hacking the DNC and the RNC? Are they creating fake Facebook groups in the tens of thousands to make these QAnon assholes feel like they actually have a point and make them stand out on a street corner by literally creating phony events?
And probably others. But because of the fake news, they seem to think Russia plays the best. So
no, Russia does the actual physical stuff. They're the ones actually hacking.
So what they do, it's all right. Well, I'm just saying the way the politicians look. The other day, they said the three countries. They said China and Russia.
You added that. By the way, last year, this report was put together, and it said Russia. And they said, we want to mention Iran and China in it and kind of soften the blow and muddy the waters a little bit. And Dan Coates said, but it's not true. And they fired Dan Coates. And 2 weeks after they fired him, a new report came out saying that China and Iran are messing around, maybe even Saudi Arabia. They puff up the piece to basically give Russia a smokescreen. Nobody in the intel community thinks that they're a real threat.
And Iran, and some reporter got up and said, Russia is meddling. I said, well, didn't it mention China and Iran? Why didn't you mention them too?
Because China and Iran just like not having you in power because you're insane and you might bomb them. Because the military is afraid to give you military options or you might kill tens of thousands of people. That's why they don't prefer you. They don't like the country at all. Chinese hate democracy, and as do the Iranians. They don't want a president to even exist. It goes against their actual methodology. They are the old world order. See how it works?
So,
but Russia is the one that's actually hacking the South Carolina Secretary of State's office.
So I don't know. You know what I'm telling you? I'll tell you who's meddling in our elections. The Democrats are meddling.
They're a political party. It's overt. They are members of the electorate. They are American citizens.
By wanting and insisting on sending mail-in ballots where there's corruption all over the place. If you check what happened in New York, a small, relatively small race with Carolyn Maloney, and they called her the winner the other day because I was mentioning it at conferences and getting...
Yeah, and over a week it took them to count the ballots, and then they finally got them, and she was declared the winner. Because that never happens in the entirety of the United States.
A lot of action
in our history
on that statement. So they called her, they declared her the winner.
Thanks,
and they
William.
have no idea who won. And the person, her opponent, is very angry. But they had mail.
Oh my God. Are we going to start having like recounts now? Holy shit. What happens if we recall people and then there's a special election? Oh my God. If we don't have a clear winner immediately in every election, I mean, what is the point of democracy?
And voting. And they had hundreds and I think even thousands of ballots that are missing, that were fraudulent. Take a look at the Carolyn.
No, they just throw them out if they don't sign the entirety of the bill. You don't get your vote count. You got to be careful. Fill it out properly. Your signature doesn't match, they're going to throw it out. They're not going to just count it because it's got mailed in.
Maloney race. Take a look at Patterson, New Jersey. Take a look now at this one in Virginia where they mailed out.
They didn't. There's no they. A third party who, insofar as we know, is paid for by the Republican Party. It's a red state. The counties, the electors, the Secretary of State's office, they did not mail this shit out. They didn't screw up and send out 500,000. A private organization bought an old list off of someone. This is exactly how this, I guarantee this is how they're going to do it. Yeah, and it's a good point, Gonzo. Slow count means they're actually being accurate, right? But a private company purchased a voter roll list that was out of date and unchecked. So it had people listing pets and dead people and people who were standing out in front of a grocery store and signed bullshit just to get because the guy or girl, signing people up was cute and they wanted to chat them up. But they're already registered. So they just used that as an excuse and wrote in their dog's name, shit like that. And so you have companies get paid when they gather those to get rid of the obviously fake ones. When somebody puts Charles Manson and those kind of things. But a company like this buys that list, doesn't vet it, and just sends shit out.
500,000 applications, and they go into people that aren't supposed to be getting an application.
You mean dead people? Are we worried that dead people are going to send in an application that they didn't request, that the state is not expecting to get back? That's the other thing. The Secretary of State's office in these states is not sending it out going, if you don't get one back, you don't get to vote. If you don't send it back, or you send back a dead person's or a dog's, the state rolls won't reflect that, and they'll go, what the fuck is this? And they'll throw it out.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It's true, William.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Pompeo is heading to Europe again
this
week. Do you have any updates on when the travel restrictions with the EU are going to be lifted? It seems strange we're offering exemptions for professional athletes, but not the K-1 visa holders, the so-called.
Well, we try and do the best we can. You have big sporting events, and that's good for our economy. That's good for us, and they do talk about certain exemptions, and they make sure everyone's perfectly tested and everyone comes in at 100%. But, you know,
No, you can't do that. You don't know that that's true. That's why people in the White House have gotten sick. The Abbott test it's got a 50-50 false negative.
we do make certain accommodations because you do have star athletes, and that means a good thing for the country. That's
As opposed to just normal people doing business and visiting relatives. I mean,
economic development, etc. But we are working very closely
Roger.
with Europe and with other countries to see what's the best timing. Don't forget, I was the one that turned Europe off because they really
you definitely turned Europe off. Like, you know, all you know, Russian anchor baby wives at Trump Tower aside. Yeah, Europe considers Donald Trump a big turn on.
they led the way. They led it much more so than we did. We were months following them. And in terms of they got hit earlier than we did, quite a bit earlier than we did. So I put the restrictions on Europe. I put the restrictions on China, which was a great thing to do.
But not on the UK, which has more deaths than we do. Weird.
Retrospect, we're getting, I mean, that was a very important day. Dr. Fauci said that was one of the most important days. And a lot of people didn't want me to do it, but we first put a ban on anybody from China coming in, and then
oh my God, and 40,000 other people came through, and 9,000 private business people came through, and they continued to come through, and all they had to do was fly through another country. There was no restrictions, no mandated quarantine. There ended up being, I mean, we're never going to get a real number. What, 60, 80,000 people came in during that time?
a ban on Europe coming in. But we're working very closely with Europe to see when that will all come off. Yeah, please.
If 160,000
That was just gibberish, by the way.
people had died on President Obama's watch, do you think you would have called for his resignation?
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that. I think it's been amazing what we've been able to do.
No, I wouldn't have called for Obama's resignation if 200,000 people had died.
It's
his resignation?
Yeah, please.
If 160,000 people had died on President Obama's watch, do you think you would have called for his resignation?
No, I wouldn't have done that. I think it's.
He did call for Obama's resignation several times. I think once over H1N1.
Amazing what we've been able to do. If we didn't close up our country, we would have had 1.5 or 2 million people already dead. We've called it right. Now we don't have to close it. We understand the disease. Nobody understood it because nobody's ever seen anything like this.
Yeah, they have.
The closest thing is in 1917, they said.
18. God damn it. Why can't somebody fix that?
The great pandemic certainly was a terrible thing where they lost.
The great pandemic. Is that what we're calling it now?
Anywhere from 50 to 100 million people. Probably ended the Second World War. All the soldiers were sick.
All the soldiers were sick. All the soldiers are sick, and the stars are gray.
That was a terrible situation, and this is highly contagious. This one.
Yeah, I don't.
It's highly, highly contagious. No, if I would have.
Yeah, it is highly contagious, which is why you don't open schools until you have the ability to track and trace.
Listen to a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. I don't.
We would have kept it open. And by the way,
50 to 100 million people. Yeah, all the soldiers.
Keep it open now, all the way. We keep it open. But we would have kept it open, and you could be up to 1.5 million or 2 million people right now. 1.5 to 2 million people.
Dead. But we have that many cases. And you want to open it up.
Our people have done a fantastic job. Our consultants and our doctors, and with disagreements and with a lot of things happening, what we've done with ventilators has been amazing. What we've done with medical equipment has.
So if Obama did all those things, would you have called for his resignation if 160,000 people died?
Been incredible.
Hitler died from the Spanish flu. I don't like Al Mox, our president. I'm sorry. He's a clown. I have too much respect for the presidency to take him seriously.
Applied the governors. Nobody, not one person in this country that needed a ventilator didn't.
They had to share it with another person.
Get it. And at the beginning.
Because people were sharing ventilators.
There was a big shortage of ventilators. Nobody had stock.
Oh my God. Nobody had stockpiles of them. The states were supposed to actually have them, and then they didn't. And then, hold on a second, I'm going to try and fix something.
Or anything comparable to what you had to have. So we would have lost, if you think about it, you had mentioned 160,000 people. Multiply that times 10 right now. I think it would have been unsustainable and unacceptable.
Unsustainable. He says that a lot too. Unsustainable. Like there's a goal to sustain the deaths, right? Who looks at a death toll and goes, we're never going to be able to keep this up? Besides, like an Auschwitz camp guard.
But that's what.
Who even thinks like that?
Would have happened had we kept it open. So, no, I think we're a very large country.
No, and by the way, that's not what would have happened if we kept it open. That's what would have happened if we did nothing.
We are one person. I said all the time. A lot of people like to leave that out.
Obama resigned, despite tweeting in 2014 that Obama should resign for allowing a doctor to test positive for Ebola. Exactly.
One person is too many. It should have never happened. But they've done a really an extraordinary job. They'll never be given the credit, and I'm not talking about me. The people that have worked on this so hard will never be given the credit, but they've done an extraordinary job with a very large, diverse country. Really an extraordinary job. And a lot of the governors who, as you know, they sort of do the micro in their states, and they go up, and I think I can tell you that.
And you do the, what's the opposite of micro? Please do it. Please try to say it. Please say macro or macro.
A lot of the governors have done an extraordinary job too. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. Did you ask the U.S. ambassador in Brazil to focus his efforts in eliminating ethanol tariffs in Brazil?
You have to. You can't.
You have an accent. You can't expect me to understand what you're talking about. First of all, you asked me about ethanol in Brazil and actual policy, and it's something that nobody in this country is going to know about. And so I can't turn it into an America First bullshit story. So I don't even have any impetus to answer it in the first place. And then you have an accent on top of that, and you're a woman. I mean, why am I even still here?
You asked the ambassador in Brazil to focus his efforts to eliminate ethanol tariffs in Brazil.
We haven't really discussed that too much, but
this is the first he's hearing of it. By the way, massive neck gina today. Seriously.
At some point we probably will be, and we don't want people tariffing us. And if they
we don't want people tariffing
tariff us. Although I must tell you, I have a very
is that the proper way of using that word? Tariffing us? They tariff us?
good relationship.
It does have a kind of a Melania tone.
Relationship with President Bolsonaro. He's great. And I hear he's doing well. He's recovered from having COVID-19, as they say.
As they say, the kids are all saying it, COVID-19, no, 19.
And that's great. And send him my regards. I think that
send him my regards, because all you people know you people.
As Brazil is concerned, if they do tariffs, we have to have an equalization of tariffs, and we are going to be presenting something having to do with tariffs and fairness and tariffs, because we have many countries for many years that have been charging us tariffs to do business, and we don't charge them. And it's called reciprocity. It's called reciprocal tariffs. And you may be seeing something on that very soon. Did you have one, OAN?
Brazil on coronavirus, Mr. President.
OAN, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, thank you for coming.
OAN, please. Bail me out of this.
To finish the briefing.
Thank you very much.
After the scuffle. So I have an opinion question.
A scuffle. 2 shots were fired, and someone was taken to the hospital with a bullet in them. It was a scuffle.
Okay.
Joe Biden is set to announce his running mate at any time now. We expect him to announce her. Many of your supporters feel that the reason that Obama's former NSA, Susan Rice, is at the top of Biden's list is that she can best cover up a lot of the Obamagate surveillance crimes that had taken place during your campaign.
Wait, you really want to go with the authoritarian use of the military over the public? You really want to go there? You want to pretend that this guy hasn't Has it doubled on that?
What are your thoughts? What is your opinion?
Yes, it's OAN.
Do you subscribe to that line of thought? How do you feel about it?
Well, look, the Obama campaign spied on our campaign. And
That's not what she's talking about, asshole. She's talking about the fact that she means in regard to anti-terrorism efforts, spying on American citizens who were engaged in contacts with ISIS and the like, and you know, dangerous domestic terrorist groups, arguably. That's what she's talking about. She doesn't give a shit about the fact that your guys called people who are being surveilled so many times that they eventually went, why is this asshole calling all the time?
they've been caught, all right? And now let's see what happens to them.
That's not what it's.
But they have been caught. They've been caught
No.
red-handed.
No, they haven't.
It's probably treason. It's a horrible thing.
It's not treason, unless you're talking about what Mike Flynn did and what you did by telling Mike Flynn
did. It probably never happened before. At least nobody got caught.
Well, no president in history so far has colluded with a foreign government to undermine our elections.
Doing it.
Especially one that's effectively an enemy on the world stage.
But they use the intelligence agencies of our country to spy on my campaign, and they have been caught. And
yes, he doesn't understand the Susan Wright question, so sorry.
there are a lot of people involved.
Duh is right. He might be the first president to actually say duh. Is this the first? I mean, as a grown man, do you say duh very often?
It probably never happened before. At least nobody got caught doing it. But they use the intelligence agencies of our country to spy on my campaign, and they have been caught. And there are a lot of people involved. I don't want to say how much she's involved. Frankly, if he chooses her, that's
you don't know.
Fine, but that's a potential liability.
She wasn't. Yeah, that's not what
we'll see. But President Obama knew about it. Joe Biden knew about it.
Yeah, they knew your campaign was colluding with Russia and that you owed them $600 million through Deutsche Bank, and they know that you have legal troubles that will dog you even after you've been in the White House, even outside, you know, getting a pass from federal prosecution the way the Bush administration did after they left office to create that normalizing of transfer of power.
Comey knew about it. Brennan, Clapper, the whole group, they all knew about it. Lisa Page and her lover Strzok, they all knew about it. And we have it documented. We have it in texts. We have it in all sorts of forms. They knew about it. It was a terrible thing. Should have never happened and should never be allowed to happen again.
The Chinese allowed the Obamas to spy on our campaign so that Joe Biden could crash the stock market by protecting it, and yet also eliminating protections for pre-existing conditions.
To a president, this should never happen again.
Well, it won't if they don't collude with a foreign power to, monkey around with our elections.
This was a setup like we've never seen. I think it's the political crime of the century.
Well, it might be because you actually or the purveyor of it.
And they've been caught. So let's see what happens to them all. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what she wasn't talking about. She wasn't talking about that. She's like, oh, that's a solid bald spot slice right there. Like, they've given up on the full do right now. There's just a flap covering that one. It looks like a ponytail. The dude is still red as a beet. Bye. Holy smokes. What a shit show. Amazing. This one went a little long today. I appreciate you guys sticking around with me. For those of you who don't know, I do this every day, except Sunday. And we are, we drill down pretty deep, but we're here because we all need to get through this sanely and enjoy each other's company and laugh in the face of this. A little bit of gallows humor. And for everybody, who's still hanging on, still just clinging to the hem of Trump's, off-the-rack Chinese-made jacket so that one day, if they're lucky, they can be downwind from one of his farts. I don't have an orange man bad reflex. I think he's an absurdity. I just have a lot of respect for our country, our flag, our system of government, our peaceful exchange of power, our system, and I believe it deserves preserving. So, and I believe in free speech. So I'm using that. And if you're ever swing by and you're trying to troll, I understand, you know, times are tough. That troll dollar doesn't go as far as it used to or whatever. So a lot of you guys need to, instead of watching my videos, go to YouTube and start watching all those motivational videos, you know, where they use like, you know, Matthew McConaughey or Sylvester Stallone or David Goggins or somebody like that, and some piano music. Just really, you know, get your energy up, get focused, get your drive in place, so that when you get in the chat room, you could say something other than just kind of the boilerplate, because it just doesn't fly anymore. It just kind of falls flat, and you look stupid, and we're all embarrassed for you, quite frankly. And it's bad enough that you're buying the QAnon line, and you're still comfortable being a maggot or a Trumpster. But you know, there's an off ramp. You can go back to just being a conservative. You can even go back to being a conservative asshole. Yeah, it's America. Knock yourself out, and we can argue about politics, liberal to conservative. We can have differences of opinion. We might even come to a consensus where both of us have an idea, and parts of it are actually where the solution comes from. I'm totally cool with that idea. But let's not pretend that Donald John Trump, the second generation rich kid who literally had to borrow money his entire adult life to keep his father's company afloat, who wrote Art of the Deal when he was losing more money on New York real estate than any other person in history, who palled around with Jeffrey Epstein, so much so that he made a joke with him in that video that made Epstein uncomfortable. He wishes Ghislaine Maxwell well. He picked Alan Dershowitz out of all the attorneys in the United States, paid him to represent him in his historic impeachment trial in the Senate. Is nobody else available? Why would you pick the one known alleged pedophile lawyer? It's like probably the most known alleged pedophile lawyer in the country. Mr. I left my underwear on. You pick that? I mean, are we short of lawyers in this country? Did they all turn you down? So, I mean, the idea that making fun of Trump has anything to do with even making jokes about our political system or our president at this point is an absurdity. He doesn't even belong in the same category. So I'm not going to let him be there. I'm not going to take a word he says seriously. All of it's a lie. It's garbage. And if you believe a word he says, you'll be a sucker later, because someone will point out, like I've done repeatedly with the VA choice bill and the like, thank you, Paula Reed, that he's lying about even the most obvious parts of it. It's garbage. Just let it go. Go become a true conservative. Go study who the main modern thinkers currently on conservative thought. George Will, I don't know. Go read their books. Come at me with something other than, this America is built the wall, there's people, it's not going to work. It just doesn't. I mean, it used to like bug some people, but we're in the middle of a pandemic. We've got riots and people dying, and, you know, got Antifa assholes LARPing on the streets of Portland. There's a lot of real gnarly shit going on. People are dying of this disease. So your old school trolling, we're all just embarrassed for you at this point. It's sometimes cute, but it's most times pathetic. Just sad. And I know you're lonely. I know your family hates you. But you can come into the sun. You can take an off ramp. And again, you don't have to be a liberal. Be what you want. Think what you want. But you got to try a little harder, because it's just not going to fly anymore. You're on the China side of the deal starting next year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We got to give the trolls a pep talk. They need help. They feel disenfranchised. They feel left out and forgotten. And they'll come around here and they'll go, you liberals, and start quoting people that aren't me to me as if they are my thoughts. You gotta do better than that. I believe in you. I think you can do better. There are other places you can go troll, and I'm sure they'll get more upset. It's just, I'm trying to, yeah, I am a giver. Thanks, Christine. Thanks for noticing. Allison, thank you. Yeah, you have to keep it, Allison, you have to keep all this stuff in its own box and separate it from reality. And you also need a historical perspective. Go watch, like the Winston Churchill movie they just had, or 1917, or any of the movies about World War II, and people doing scrap drives and rationing food and gas and all the stuff that they went through. Look at stuff about the Dust Bowl and the Depression, and know that the last party you went to in your life happened after the Spanish flu and tuberculosis and the polio epidemic and the worst measles epidemic of the industrial age. And when the Cold War meant that a nuclear bomb could go off and could be launched at the United States in a matter of minutes. We will get back to normal. We will right this and improve ourselves. And there's always these ebbs and flows in social interactions with people. We will make this a more equitable country. And at the same time, balance it out for people's daily experience so we can all stop worrying about politics so much and get focused on the things we want to do. But you can't let it emotionally, the reason I talk about this stuff is because people start going off in this whole, I'm exhausted. It's just so exhausting. You're allowing that person too much power if they exhaust you. You have to find a way the secret to happiness is finding joy in the things you cannot change. Just germinate on that for a little while. Just let that roll around in your head. Look at the things you have to repeat in your life and things that maintain your sense of self and your physical person. And any of the ones that are intolerable, find the joy in them. Find what's fun about them. There you go. Why did I suddenly hear a sitar? I don't know, because I had a Beatles moment. I never said I was more important than Jesus, just that I was more well known, at least on Twitch. So I'll be gaming this weekend. Yeah, it's true, Twitch. It's true. So subscribe over twitch.tv/HalSparks, and I'll be gaming soon. It's gonna, starting the beginning of September, I'm launching the Twitch thing anew as far as gaming and what I'm going to be doing on there. I'm going to be doing some VR stuff and some crazy stuff, hopefully helping us balance our political diet and our entertainment diet until we get through this and into the election so that we can move to that next point. And then next thing you know, you'll be tuning every day for like a mini version of I Love the 80s, and we'll just be doing this to enjoy ourselves and come up with good ideas to make the world a better place instead of patching holes every day. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. I adore you guys. Thanks so much, everybody. By the way, Allison and Mike Engels, thanks for the bits and for gifting all the subs to everybody in Twitch. That's just awesome. I'm new to all that stuff, so Thea and Ninka Crinkles, all you guys, I love that you're doing that. I wish I understood it more, and I will get to know it more, but I want you to know I appreciate it, even as an effort in and of itself. Everybody who's given the super hearts on Periscope, thank you guys so much. Thanks to everybody who's a Patreon. We're trying to get to 500 patrons, so if you feel like joining, please do. That's the magic number. One day we'll be bigger than that. I mean, there are people who do watercolors once a week who have 1,000 patrons. I'm just saying, not much. Just thank you, Scooter. But this is, if I have cheered you up at all during this time, and you could put a dollar amount on the cheeriness that I've given you in any way that's manageable for you, although I do believe it's priceless. there's many ways to show that, and I greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody who has, and anybody who can't. Again, anybody who can't. If you're overwhelmed or financially you can't do anything right now and you're staring down the barrel of what work is going to look like and you just don't know, don't worry about it. Do not concern yourself. Come here just for the invigoration and the playfulness and the silliness and the having fun and, of course, the mad command of fact that I do have my damn self. Enjoy that. And get a little ammo to go out and push, have when you argue with somebody, you have a little more to go by. There you go. So, all right. Yeah. And to all the conservatives, be a real conservative. Don't let this asshole piss your party away. And to real Christians, understand that you are New Testament believers, not Old Testament believers. The Old Testament's history, the New Testament is behavior. Love your neighbor as yourself. You don't want you to get COVID. Why would you want them to get COVID? Wear a mask, wash your hands, clean common surfaces, give someone a gift across the street. If you're worried that they don't have enough food, walk a meal across the street. Do it. Leave it on the stoop. Go, hey, I made you a pie. I washed my hands. We wore gloves the whole time. There you go. Something. Be a real Christian. World needs them. Really, 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 really does. It needs real Muslims and real Jews and real Christians, like people who deeply believe in their belief systems and the kindness and the beauty that's in them. All the other tribal war shit that everybody slapped on it in the ensuing centuries afterwards, yeah, you can skip. But live up to the highest part of whatever your belief system at least says it is. Or don't use the name. Don't call yourself a conservative and support what Donald Trump is doing. It's an absurdity. It's an embarrassment. You don't actually believe it. And certainly don't call yourself an anti-pedo QAnon supporter who really is worried about the children if you're backing a president who has 3 pedophiles on speed dial. Come on. Come on. All right, you guys are lovely. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Have a great Monday. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Thank you, Can't Stop Lying. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, our mods in there as well. Bless you guys. Thanks, Gonzo, again. Appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Be well. Do I choose different music today? I think so. All right. No, maybe this one. That's not bad.
All right. This is my sister. You can all have her. I hear she's very good. Captain's log.
They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately. If you get it in order, you get extra points. We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Carrot. Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused. I do it because I have, like, a good memory, because I'm cognitively there. Soup for my family. Medicine and medical and what we're doing.
You using the whole fist, Doc?
Dr. Evil. I didn't spend 6 years in evil medical school to be called Mr. Thank you very much.
You are physically repulsive, intellectually retarded, vulgar, insensitive, selfish, stupid. You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell.
You lied to me!
Groovy.
Did have shade.
We have that. It's as wide as it can be.
To be a moron. To be moronical. An imbecile. Like the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived.
Shop smart, shop S-Mart.
People coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup. Wildlife refuges, I mean, you look at this, you look at what we do with our wildlife.
He thinks I made it up.
Unbelievable.
That was really cool, by the way.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Call me Snake.
Something strange happened to me this morning. Was it a dream where you see yourself standing in sort of sun god robes on a pyramid with 1,000 naked women screaming and throwing little pickles at you? No. Why am I the only person that has that dream?
I am a HAL 9000 computer.
Let me put it this way, Mr. Raymer. The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made. No 9000 computer has ever made a mistake or distorted information. We are all, by any practical definition of the words, foolproof and incapable of error.